yeah, I'm hoping that you guys are able to see me and that we're able to really just get the ball rolling in terms of the masterclass that we'll be having here. And I told you that this would be 2 hours of exciting conversations that are going to be coming through a lineup of amazing speakers that will take us through profound topics that will help us navigate the world of work, our organizations, but also just making sure that we stay relevant and in time, looking at some of these issues that will come through, the pressure points that will come through to affect our organizations as we go along. The theme for the masterclass, if I can say it once again, is the power to influence, leading clarity, confidence, and connection. So that is what we're aiming for, as I said, as we go into the 2 hours. We have a lineup of amazing speakers, as I said, that will really just help us through various of these topics. If I can just introduce them a bit, and then I'll go extensive in terms of their profiles when we introduce various of the topics that will be, more or less going into as we go into the session. So we have Mr. Robinson Shumba, who's a leadership change and risk management expert. So he's one of the speakers that will be taking us through the session this morning. We have Mr. Neon Dabani, who's a communication systems and strategy specialist. He'll also be coming through to give us a sense of how, more or less, or what we can get out of his space as well, where communication and leadership is concerned. We have Ms. Manuel Scott, who's the founder of the Core Competency Institute. So she's our host. And this morning, she'll also be taking us through the topic that she has in store for us. Miss Natalie Lowe is joining us as well as the director of the CSG, and she will also be taking us through various of the topics at hand in terms of her competency. Looking forward to that one. Mr. Siabonga Madolo, who's joined us as well, coming through as a business coach. He'll also be taking us through the world of work and how we can really stay on course in terms of everything else that we encounter on a daily where our companies or organizations are concerned. So this, I'm hoping that is going to be an interactive one. So without any waste of time, let me just ask for the poll to go up. This will be our first poll for this session, the pre-poll that will take us right into the sessions. And then when we come back, I'm going to be introducing our first speaker. That will be Mr. Robinson Shumba. Remember that the main aim for this poll would be for us to engage as much as we can. So would like for all of you guys, we have about 194 of those participants on the platform. So we'll be looking forward to you guys taking part in these sessions so that there's value addition in terms of these coming 2 hours. We're going to start with a pre-poll, and then after that, we'll be just interacting a bit. I'll come back and we'll go to our first speaker. That will be Mr. Robinson Schumer. All right, so I see that our poll is up, and a couple of you guys on the platform just indicating that the volume, we'll need to work on that in terms of our technicalities. Please just be patient with us a bit. Fiona, just asking for audio, Ronald as well. So we're trying to, as we get the ball rolling and the masterclass underway, just kind of sort out some of these issues. Some can hear us loud and clear. Others, they're still trying to connect. So I'm trying to ensure that everyone is part of this session and we're not leaving anyone behind. I'm hoping that as we go along, the glitches would be sorted so that everyone is in. But I'm glad that you've joined Sinovu Yobam. I see you, Hadi. I see you, Fiona. I see you, Koridi. I see you as well, Ronald. Yeah, as I said. And remember as well that this would be the the issue of around the chat. So you're welcome to go into the chat space and give us a sense of how then you are receiving us this morning, or some of those issues or teething matters that we may not be aware of. I'm told that the volume that the participants were asking about was the volume for the video. So we'll bring it back up as we go into the show. We'll keep playing the videos as we go along, and that hopefully will be sorted out as we go along. The poll there was asking you as to which specific area are you most excited about today. Remember, I told you that we have various of the speakers coming through with their extensive experience. They'll be taking us through various of the topics that we have on the agenda this morning: leadership style and principle, communication principles for leaders, emotional intelligence and personal mastery, and change management and leading through change. I see most of you guys gravitating towards the communication principles. So yeah, we'll go into it as we go along. But without any waste of time, I'm going to introduce the first speaker. The speaker will have about 20 minutes. We'll come back and then we'll have a little bit of a question a session, and then we'll give you a sense of who they are in a moment. But please do get your notepads ready, your notes ready, so that you take some of these questions. And just a reminder as well to all of you attending this morning that later on we're going to be having a book giveaway. So this is where those questions will come in very and handy because we're going to be giving away books this morning. So please be interactive. Ask those questions, and let's make this session a worthwhile session. Without any waste of time, let me introduce you to our first speaker. The first speaker that is coming through this morning would be Mr. Robinson Shumba. He's a respected business consultant, a global keynote speaker, and author of bestsellers, including The Greatness Manual and Winning in Business and Leadership. He has facilitated leadership and business workshops across Africa, the United States, the UAE, Europe, and has spoken on major platforms including a TEDx. So a contributor to Performance 360 magazine and a co-author with global figures like Brian Tracy. Robinson has been recognized amongst the top 100 influential people in terms of the work that he does as well by C Hub magazine, and as a top leadership expert by the EC Leadership there in the United States. It's coming through with a strong background in extensive leadership, executive roles, and a passion for social impact. He also supports vulnerable communities through his charities in Zimbabwe, here in South Africa as well. Robinson holding a BBL from UK, a BSc from Zim, a DIP in education, diploma in Zim, an MBA in the United Kingdom, UK, and is also completing his doctorate in business leadership here in South Africa. So Mr. Robinson Shumba is coming through to help us navigate a topic titled Foundations and Approaches of Leadership. Mr. Shumba, it's over to you, sir.
What a great honor to meet every single one of you. I'm excited about the energy in the room, and thank you for the introduction. I am speaking to you for 20 minutes, and I'll be timing myself here about a fundamental topic when we talk about leadership and management, the foundations. We all know that a house is as strong as the foundation it's got, and as we kickstart our sessions, it's about reminding us that we need firm foundations. But for that, I would want to ask you a simple question, and I don't expect an answer right away. But if I say, what is the major challenge that organizations or nations are facing in this day and age? I'm sure most of I'm sure most of you will come up with a number of scenarios. Some will say global warming. Others will say there's hunger and starvation all over the world, wars and sounds of wars and news of wars happening everywhere. This one bombing the other. There are many challenges we can talk about, but I would believe that the number one challenge in the world is not witchcraft, is not hunger, is a lack of sound, ethical, strategic leadership. That's the major challenge that we have. So that's why I'm very excited about this particular topic. And many people would ask, you're talking about leadership, what about managers? And who is important between the two? What's the difference anyway between the two elements? A leader focuses on decision making and vision setting and the growth of the organization. That's the visionary, the person who will say, 5 years from now, where are we going to be? But on the flip side, we have the custodian of policy, the custodian of systems, and all the resources we have, and that's called a manager. Who is important between the two of them? Both of them are important. They need each other. It's very critical to understand that even within leadership, there are elements of management. Very important to also realize the two go hand in hand. There's no situation where you can say, I only need leaders around me. I don't need managers, because managers are the ones that come and say, is this decision sound? Do we have the finances to run this particular project? So think about the organization that you come from. You need both leaders and managers. But when you're talking about leaders, there are quite a number of leadership styles, and I believe this is a firm foundation because every single one of us needs this call to action to understand what sort of leadership style is dominant within you and how does it affect those that are around you. Is it growing the organization? Do you have a firm understanding, the level of self-awareness to know what your leadership style is all about? This right here is a summary of all the leadership styles. We have the autocratic, democratic, transactional, transformational, and laissez-faire. There are many other theories that come beyond the ones that you see on the screen, but suffice to say, for the purposes of the time that we have, I'll focus just on these elements. An autocratic and a democratic leadership style. What is the difference between the two? Autocratic leadership style focuses on fast decision making. These are the individuals who say sometimes my way or the highway. There are elements within the autocratic leadership style that are good because decisions will be made quickly, solutions will be provided very quickly. But sometimes, if overused, it can stifle growth of the organization. People don't feel included. People feel that they are taken for granted. Fast decision-making, autocratic leadership is used. On the other side, there's the democratic leadership style. It's about building trust, building commitment, making sure that we understand each other, making everybody feel included. We know the issues of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And as a matter of fact, we've added another one, R. So we call it BRIDE now, or I call it BRIDE. When I was teaching this session this week, I talked about the issue of BRIDE: belonging, respect, inclusion, diversity, equity. If you're democratic, you are always observing all these elements. You're building trust, commitment, and making sure teams are running effectively. But there's also a transformational leadership style that is focused on vision and making sure the purpose of the organization is achieved. It's all about motivating people, inspiring people towards where they need to be. This is ideal for growth. It's a growth mindset. You're building a culture of transformation, and it's about managing people through change. I'm glad somebody will talk about it a little later on. But there's a laissez-faire leadership style where you now have a team that's mature enough. You have a hands-off approach. Teams are semi-autonomous. You don't need to be breathing down their throats every single moment. You adopt the laissez-faire leadership style. What's critical to understand is that every single one of these leadership styles is critical. I know most of you would say, oh, autocratic, you don't need to be autocratic. But it's about understanding, where are we as an organization? Where are we in terms of our finances, in terms of the risks that we face? I always look at the issue of situational leadership and I say, if you are in a room and there's a snake in the room, you don't have the liberty to go to every individual and consult them and say, Susan, what do we have? Is this a mammal or a reptile? How old do you think this snake is? What do you think it feeds on? Does it look poisonous? Do you think that after being bitten by this snake, you can die in 20 minutes, or is it after 2 hours? You don't have the liberty of consultation. You don't have the liberty of democracy. You push people out of the room. Why? Because we are in a crisis. That's situational leadership. Know that you can use every single one of these leadership styles. And in fact, a powerful leader is one that can transcend between all these leadership styles. I didn't include and define the 7 leadership style. Again, it's all about growth. It's all about the well-being of people. Many times as leaders, we forget that we are not leading machines. We are leading people with veins, arteries, emotions, ideas, thoughts, intentions, goals, aspirations, you name it. People need a sense of belonging, a sense of I am needed here, I am wanted here. So build trust, build loyalty, you see your teams grow. But it's also critical to understand why you are there as a leader. It's all about strategy. People are always looking for somebody who can take them somewhere. It's about navigating the rapids of the operating environment, setting the strategic goals that we all need to achieve. But it's also about business continuity. We live in an era where there are a lot of risks, and many risks are coming every single day. If you trace back to 2020, when COVID came, a risk that every single individual under the sun had to actually address: business continuity. Should there be a calamity right now, what happens? Fostering respect and trust, that's creating a working environment that's conducive for people to operate in. Many times we tolerate toxic environments. Sometimes as leaders, we are guilty also of creating toxicity in the environments in which we operate. We need to lead by example and ensure that that which we want to see in people, we do. Everybody around you, they're like children. They do what you do, not necessarily what you tell them. They always say, show me, don't tell me. But let's encourage people to develop. Let's encourage people to attend seminars of this nature, to come to the masterclasses. It's all about developing. If you're not growing, you're dying. So let's take responsibility as leaders for all the decisions that we make every single day. So I challenge you, 3 things that you need as a leader. Be visionary. Be a leader that sees. It's all about sight. What things do you need to see? I like the words of Helen Keller. She, a lady was born blind, who said, I'd rather have these eyes than these eyes. Meaning there are many people who have physical eyes who don't know where they'll be in 5 years. You ask them, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Even in a job interview, they don't see themselves past tomorrow. A leader must see. But there are 4 kinds of sight that I've come up with. First one being hindsight. We put you in a position of authority and responsibility. Try and understand where the organization has come from. Try and understand where it's going. Hindsight is saying, here are the historical elements, here are the values, the founding values. Here's the reason why this organization has been performing like this over the last 5 years. That's hindsight. You can only grow to the level of information and insights that you have at your disposal, which is the second kind of sight you require. We are paid in proportion to the insights we bring to the organization. They always say, what do you bring to the table? Bring insights. Even if you're a manager, even if you're a leader, understand that the organization calls on you to bring something to the table, and that's insight. You can't sit in a meeting for 20 minutes, have coffee, sit in that comfortable chair, and come out without raising your hand and contributing to the table of endeavor and the issues at hand. Very important. We all must be contributors of what can be, not just consumers of what already is. But a critical element of leadership, oversight. This is about responsibility, taking ownership of the outcomes of our decisions. That's having oversight. You're responsible, you are accountable. Many leaders are guilty of only showing up when good things happen. But when things that go bad, they start blaming their team members. That's poor leadership. But more than anything, a visionary leader is one that is taking us somewhere. Foresight. When we say, let's plan strategically, let's put our goals together. Which markets do we want to be in? What sort of demographics will we be serving? What products are we bringing to those markets? What makes us different? They are taking us into the future. We're in the age of AI, data analytics. We need to take our organization into those realms. But you need to be a leader who sees, that's a visionary. But you also need to be a leader who thinks. A leader must think, and the 2 types of mindsets come. There's one which is a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. If you have a fixed mindset, you are a danger to the organization and to the teams that you lead. Somebody came up with the law of the lead that says you can determine, you can be the ceiling that people can not go past as a leader. You can become an impediment to the growth of your organization if you have a fixed mindset. A mindset that says, let's stay where we are, let's not go into the future. You are scared of the future. You don't see challenges as opportunity to grow. Let's be leaders who think, but not just think, but think strategically. Third thing, you need to be a leader who decides. Decisions must be done responsibly. I said earlier on, many times people don't make decisions. We are scared of making decisions. You see a challenge, sometimes you are passive. You don't do anything about it. See no evil, hear no evil. You can't be a leader who just ducks and dives when issues come up. But be a leader who decides. Sometimes you can also react. So the lowest level is being passive. The house is burning, you pretend that it's not burning, and you think things will resolve themselves. Let's go to the second layer, reactive. Sometimes you react to situations, but this can't be your predominant response to circumstances that the organization is going through. You can't always be running around with a fire extinguisher and putting out the fire, looking so important. Why did the fire even come up? To what extent did you light up the fire yourself? So many leaders, there's leaders who believe that there should always be a crisis. When things are stable, they don't want to operate in that environment. They will create a chaos. Third layer, go beyond reactive to proactive. Proactive is anticipating challenges and beginning to do something about them before they even arise. Be proactive as a leader. Think up through when you look at the risks of the organization, the dangers to your business model. Think about it and be proactive enough and begin to address it now. That's why we need leaders with foresight. But go beyond being proactive. We are in the age of using data analytics and tools that I talked about earlier on. We're in the age of AI. There are tools that are around us. AI is not here to kill you. AI is your best friend. AI is actually your assistant, but it's not coming here to replace your brain as well. Still continue thinking, but have AI as your assistant that you can give elements to work on. Just checking on my time. But so predictive leaders are the ones that can take advantage of technology and the tools at their disposal to be able to take the organizations into the future. You predict that based on the trends we have seen, this is where things will be. Using tools, analytics, AI, and everything that will benefit the organization. But the last kind of leader, which is almost like the pinnacle, is the prescriptive leader. Now that you've seen that the challenges, now that you've seen the opportunities, now that you've seen all the weaknesses and all the risks that the organization is exposed to, you prescribe, this is the way, let's walk this way, here is the direction. Let me conclude by giving you a challenge. The challenge that I'm leaving you with right now is, what leadership style do you think you have? Every single one of us has got a leadership style. You may be here and think, oh, I'm not a leader. No one has ever given me a title of leader, of manager, of chief operating this and chief operating that. You don't become a leader because of a position. Leadership goes beyond positions. Leadership is a disposition. Leadership comes at the point of deciding to lead, a point of deciding to say, I'll be a solution bearer. I'll be the one that takes people from where they are to where they need to be. I'll be the one who takes the organization into the future. I'm not building for today. I'm not building for last year. I can't fight today's battles with last year's tools. I keep upgrading. That's becoming a leader. So what leadership style do you have? Don't condemn yourself. Just understand that every one of your leadership styles works. But are you a visionary? Do you see? Are you a thinker? And of course, do you make decisions? That said, it's exactly 20 minutes. Over to you, MC.
Mr. Robinson Shumba, everybody, thank you very much, sir, for that worthwhile. I think it was extensive in terms of challenging all of us, an icebreaker, starting us off also nicely. I know very well that we have a variety of leaders here in the room that possess various competencies. So this is where then Mr. Shumba would be challenging all of you to say, what type of leader are you? Are you a situational leader? Are you a servant leader? Are you a prescriptive leader? But also just giving us a sense of what a leader should be in terms of what they possess and how they navigate the organization. Leading with understanding, leading by example. That is what really everyone should be aiming for, being a visionary. within your organization, so you take it to greater heights. But I loved what you mentioned there, Mr. Shumba, around issues of accountability, because that is what we're lacking the most right now in terms of our leadership and how we're navigating some of these organizations. We're competing with juniors and the likes, and that is not how then growth come about within an organization. Being proactive, but something also notable there was you touching on the issue of artificial intelligence. We know very well that we are in that age right now where a lot of people are just trying to, and organizations are trying to see where they can position themselves in terms of artificial intelligence. And that's a thought for all of you in terms of just accepting and more or less embracing the change and where the world is moving into, but also just making AI your companion as you navigate some of these sectors. Really appreciated, Mr. Shumba. So if you have questions for Mr. Shumba, please do note them down and we'll take them as we go right along. I want us to go into another poll. Remember, I told you that this would be an interactive session. So we've lined up polls that will come through, as the speakers go along. That will also just wake us up, right? To center us, bring us back into the session here. So that poll will go up in a moment. So you're allowed to please go in there, please participate, and let's see how then we can collate all of these, numbers and see where these spaces would take us. A reminder as well that we're going to be having a breakaway session. And this is where most of you guys can just more or less direct these questions to Mr. Robinson Shumba and some of our speakers that will be coming through here. That will take us into extensive explanation of some of the things that they would be presenting about. So that poll is up, and you're welcome to go into that poll, and let's see how we can actually just navigate the morning. I'm hoping that you really more or less, you noted all of these issues down, and you are now thinking about the type of leader that you find yourself being as we go along. Our next speaker will be Miss Natalie Lowe. Miss Natalie Lowe is coming through as a respected facilitator. She's a speaker, she's a Master of Education, Training, and Development practitioner. She works, extensively in leadership platforms, but more or less just targeting issues of human behavior and skills development as well. A career spanning through various of the boardrooms, the classrooms, and also conference stages. So a worthwhile, a worthwhile session to look forward to where Natalie is concerned here. She also brings forth a strategic depth and human insight to every engagement. And this morning, Natalie will be really just helping us through authenticity and diverse audiences that she often just navigates here. And we are looking forward to her just pushing us into meaningful inspiration, sustainable change, and people centered approaches to how we can navigate this leadership in various of our organizations. Her topic this morning will be on emotional intelligence and personal mastery. Natalie, good morning. Over to you.
Good morning, Katlego. Thank you very much. Just a quick check. You can see my slide?
Yes, we can see your slide.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. It's really lovely to be here, and I have about 20 to 25 minutes with you. And this is one of the topics that I absolutely love. In fact, it's how Ms. Scott Manea Scott and I met when I was offering this content in one of my sessions. So I really love it, but be prepared for your mind to be really alert and take in as much as you can, because if you do pay attention today and apply the learning, not just from myself, from all the speakers, I promise you your life will change. I can only speak out of experience. So I've already had an intro, but this is what I call my brag sheet. So I'm going to pop it up there. And the reason I put this is because I want you to know that when you look at all the positions that I've had, all the qualifications and certifications, I didn't start there. I was a young mom. At 17, I had my firstborn. By 21, I had 3 children, and I was working as a cashier in a supermarket. So today you can see what's on the screen in front of you, but I show you this because it doesn't matter where you came from. We remember where we came from, but what is important is to move forward. And I again show you, I didn't even finish high school, yet I have qualifications, and from UCT, as you would know, which is one of the flagship universities in the world, never mind South Africa. And again, I tell you, because having not finished matric, how do I get onto these programs? When you know things, knowledge is absolutely power. I started inquiring. And when you start learning how to assert yourself, take in charge of who you are, life changes. So I'm no more that cashier, but I still pack my own groceries. That's a habit of, how to say, occupational habit. So I really hope you enjoy the journey that I'm going to share with you in terms of emotional intelligence, and everything I'm going to share, I'm also going to explain how you can apply this. So this is essentially what we're going to do today. And it says emotional intelligence. Now, if you know what the word oxymoron means, you will laugh. But what oxymoron is, it's essentially taking two words that are totally opposite and putting it in one sentence. So for example, if you were to look at a property and say, oh, that's a little big house or a big little house. Is it little? Is it big? Because they're the opposite, right? So emotional intelligence, the scientists and the academics will tell you, is an oxymoron, because when you get emotion, you kind of lack intelligence and so forth. So I'll explain what that means as well, because when there's emotion, there's feeling. When there's intelligence, it's the head. So we're going to look inside that head, but we're also going to touch on the heart today. So one of the most powerful quotes I've ever seen is this one, and it says, people do not listen with the intent to understand. It's true. We listen with the intent to reply. When I show you my slides, I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to process. So what does this mean? What does it mean we listen with the intent to reply? So this is reply. This is when we have a conversation with a colleague, the friend, the family member, the community member, our friends, and they're talking. And as they're talking, we're listening. And as they talk, our internal dialogue starts taking over. What is that? So they start talking about a whole lot of things, and you start losing interest, which a lot of us do. And then they say something that basically strikes a chord in your mind, and you're like, oh, wow, they were talking about money. It's month end, I need to pay my bills. And while they're talking, you're on a totally different journey. Your train has left the station, and you're thinking of everything but what they're saying. And then they stop and they say, and what do you think? And you go, I think that's a very good idea. To which they respond, what do you mean? I've just been retrenched, or I've been fired, or I've been dismissed. Oh, no, the other person will say, no, that's what I meant. I meant it's great, you can start over. And as human beings, we've got into that habit of not listening to people to fully understand what they're saying. We can't wait to get our words in. So if you are the person who, while somebody's talking, start finishing the sentence, and as they stop, you immediately jump in, it is humanly impossible to have fully listened and understood what they were saying. It's impossible because you've already started your own dialogue, because you were formulating your response. So in the future, what do? When somebody finishes speaking, it's called a powerful pause. 3 seconds. Wait until they're finished. Look at them. Now, don't look at them and have on your mind what's for dinner. Look at them and process what they said, because that's how the mind works. Okay. So when we look at it, what is the difference? Because you might hear people talk about, oh, my brain is tired, or I can't get it. What's wrong with my brain? See, the reality is your brain is hardware. The brain is the physical flesh, the organ that sits inside this thing that you call your head. The mind, however, as you can see the staircase over there navigating through, the mind is essentially the software that lives on the hardware. So if you took a computer, a laptop, a cell phone, the brain in this case, relative to the phone, is your cell phone, the physical device. But the mind is the operating system and all the software that goes on it. So without a mind, your brain is useless. But without a brain, there is no mind, because that's the human, it's a physical organ. So when there's talk about the person is brain dead, that means nothing is going on the mind factor, and the brain isn't responding. So we need to differentiate between what is brain and what is mind. So just another slide for clarity. The moist computer mode, we call it, of gray matter that sits in your skull is the physical brain. But the abstract operating system that runs on top of this moist computer, that is your mind. So the brain is the hardware, the mind is the software. Okay. So I'm telling you this because as we move forward, I'm going to continue talking about the mind, but I might make reference to the brain. All right. So I'm here to talk about personal mastery. What is that? Now, just for the purposes of those who might be connected on their phone, when I bring up my slide, I'm going to read it to you so that you're also with us on each of it. So that's just for convenience for those. So what is personal mastery? Well, in this case, I'm talking about your ability to become conscious, also known as aware, of your internal states. So in other words, the mood that you're in, the language that you use, and your mental pattern. An example of a mental pattern is triggers. If something triggers you, you react, right? You've put that in your mind to say, oh, this is going to get me angry, and you react without thinking. So taking all of this information and deliberately choosing the behaviors basically that support your desired outcome. So personal mastery means noticing how you think, what you say to yourself, how your body responds to others and to yourself, and then repatterning unhelpful beliefs, emotional triggers, and habits. Now, what do we mean by repatterning unhelpful beliefs? Give you an example. Take it that you grew up and you were told from a very young age, don't play with dogs, dogs are dangerous. You've never had a dog, you never had family who had a dog, but you suddenly find yourself so scared of dogs that when one passes you, or cats or any animal, but when one passes you, you go into fear mode, you go into panic mode because I must get away. I'm worried about this. And maybe sometimes you think, babe, but why am I scared of dogs? I've never had one. I've never seen a dog be vicious. Now that is potentially a belief and the way we are programmed from young. So when we are programmed to behave in certain ways, we take it with us into our grown-up stage. So emotional triggers might be, I see a dog, I get really scared, I want to run away, I start crying. And a habit is over time, when I do it enough, I don't even think anymore. I just jump, I just see a picture of a dog and my body goes into panic mode. And that's the truth of how our mind works. So when you practice personal mastery, that would be when you move from being driven by automatic reactions like the triggers and the habits to acting from intention. So it's, I know what I'm doing. I'm mindful. I'm here now. So values and choice. So acting from your value system. A lot of times people don't know what the values system is, and that's okay. But you do eventually uncover it. And many times you only uncover it when you're faced with something. So creating consistent results in how you feel, how you communicate and lead, not just yourself, but others. So that's personal mastery. So I'm going to take you through the steps of emotional intelligence, and then you're going to see and hear how you can do that. So when you look at the diagram or the illustration that I have over here on my screen, it says empathy at the top in green, and then social skills in blue, self-regulation in red, self-awareness in sort of the purple color, and the yellow is motivation. Now, I'm going to talk about 4 of the key aspects of emotional intelligence and the ones that really make a difference in the sense of you. If you look at different theories, some give you 5, some give you 6. In this case, some give you 4. All right, so emotional intelligence, what is EQ? It's the ability to recognize, to understand, and to manage your emotions, so your behavior, but not just your own, that of others too. So it involves self-awareness, empathy, relationship management, and those are key in terms of understanding people in general and yourself. So these, and following on from the previous speaker, effective leadership. If you have high emotional intelligence, you're a great leader. But you see, not everybody's a leader. You get managers and you get leaders. A leader is only a leader by definition because people choose to follow them. And people choose to follow what that leader believes in, their values. And people get upset when the leadership doesn't display or behave in a way that the followers thought, but this is what I'm following. So that's what happens in society and why dispute happens and conflict. High emotional intelligent people, they notice the emotional state, so you will know what emotion you're going through, but you understand the difference between impact and intent. And what is that? What I want versus what happens. And the people with high EQ knows how to positively influence the mood and the dynamic of a group. Think about a situation in your social settings. Have you ever been in an environment in your social setting where somebody walks in and they're in a mood and everybody in the room changes mood to adjust to that person? Why? Because they probably typically the alpha male or alpha female, so they drive the emotion and the behavior. But why though? Don't you want to be in charge of your own emotions, your own behavior? So that's what happens. And when we say, oh, they made me so angry, here's a fact for you today. Nobody on this planet, in this world, can make you do or feel anything. And sorry for the reference, but even if they have a weapon held to you and say, we're going to do something to you, you still make that choice. They don't. So why I'm saying it is so you have a choice as to how you react in front of people. And if you have higher emotional intelligence, you will make smarter decisions and you won't have emotional outbursts. Okay. So we spoke about what is emotional intelligence. When we look at it, it's perceiving emotions with other people, but also understanding your own emotion, using these emotions and managing them. That's the gist of EQ. Now, it's this abbreviation for emotional intelligence is EQ, emotional quotient, and it's known as EI as well, emotional intelligence. Now, when I show you this picture, right, what do you see? Do you see a man playing a saxophone? Or do you see a beautiful woman silhouette? What do you see? Some of you would have seen the man playing a saxophone. Others would have seen the woman. It doesn't matter what you see. The reality is perception. You see what you see, and people argue. No, it's a person playing saxophone. No, it's a woman. Both are right because that's how it is. It's called an ambiguous picture. We in life talk ambiguously, which means when we talk, when we do things, we would say one thing, but it could mean a variety of things. That's ambiguous. Now let's do another one. Do you see this beautiful table vase or candle holder? Or do you see two people looking at each other? Interesting, hey? That's how the mind works. What did you see first? And again, there's no right, there's no wrong. It's what you see. So when you meet other people, do you see them in a bad mood and go, oh, they're really angry? Or do you see that they're going through something difficult and they need space? Because again, that is a choice. So let's talk about self-awareness. Self-awareness is about noticing your emotions. So when you feel you're in a mood, what mood are you in and why? What led to that? You see, your intent is not equal to the impact, which means essentially that what you intend to say, and I said that earlier, you want this to happen. You want to pass. You're doing exam. You want a promotion, but you don't pass. You don't get the promotion. Why? Because I expected not to. What does that mean? See, the brain doesn't differentiate. The mind doesn't differentiate between a negative and a positive. So if I say, oh, I really want to get this job, but I probably won't. What happens in life is what we expect, not what we want. We want to get it, but we do everything that leads to we don't get it. And then what do? We go, oh, well, I knew that was going to happen. I don't know why I tried anyway. So our intent, in other words, I want this to happen, but the impact that essentially we make, they don't correspond. So we need to be living according to what we expect and make it happen what we want. So when you walk into a room, your mood enters before you do, and that's the example I gave you earlier. You see, to be self-aware means you need to be mindful of your emotional weather, to be predictable where possible, which means if you're upset and people know, okay, you're having a day, it's predictable because they go, it's all right, she just needs space. But it's when people go, can I go talk to that person? What mood are they in? That's horrible. We don't want that. Humans don't want that. Okay, so let's look at this. This is, again, very similar to what I said earlier. So when it comes to high self-awareness, you have to be mindful of how you talk to yourself because you are listening. Now, when we go to self-management, I'm going to talk a little bit more what helps us to regulate our emotion. But when we say, or when I say, be careful of what you say to yourself because you're listening, it's the same as be careful what you think because you're listening. If I'm the person or somebody walks around going, I'm so stupid, I'm useless, I can never do anything, they have a mindset that says they are useless, they are stupid. Another person will go, I can never do anything right, you're always better than me again. And hopefully if you do the full program, you'll learn a lot more about these concepts and how to deal with them. But the person in you who's listening to you decides I'm useless because that's what you're telling it. Aren't you tired of that? Oh, I'll always be poor. Well, you're telling yourself you'll always be poor. Of course, you're always going to be poor. Now, telling yourself I'll be rich and not doing anything about it is also not going to work, right? So you need to action it. All right. So when it comes to self-management, what are we saying? Before you react to something, pause. So that's you restraining yourself. That's you holding back. That's that 3-second rule. So there'll be a trigger in your life. You have a choice to do whatever comes next. And that determines, of course, the outcome. So a lot of times people would have a trigger. So a trigger might be somebody in the office makes, again, the cabbage and the onion meal and it smells the whole office through. That could be a trigger for you. And trust me, I've done a lot of workshops about that, how to not make your food and not annoy people. So that's a trigger for somebody, right? Their choice is to walk up to that person and say, do you have to do it? They have another choice. They could just say, you know what, it's their lunch. I'll speak to HR and ask them to please, warm it in another room or move the microwave. What is the outcome? The outcome will be what you decide. Absolutely. See, feelings are allowed always, but reactions are optional. So, and I've duplicated that because if you choose the reaction, but you also choose the feeling, because if you're feeling sad, you can say, why am I feeling sad? And you can change that. And I'll show you later how easy it is to change. So you can't control what happens to you a lot of the time, but you can definitely choose how you show up, which means your behavior. Now, I want to give you an example, right? If the speaker can also just post in the chat, if I have like 3 minutes left, that would be fantastic, right? So now what I want you to do is think of something that makes you so mad. It's a trigger. Something, somebody, it doesn't matter, but think of this situation, whether it be a person or a situation that definitely brings out the horrible version of you. It can be anything. To me, when people point finger when they speak to me, because that's a sign of aggression. So think about that. Can you think about it? Have you got it? You got it. All right. So now you're thinking and you're tensing up and the hair on your neck might be raising because you're really frustrated. Okay, now do this. Physically, smile. Come on. You can do it. Smile. You have to put the smile on your face. Don't force it. Put the smile. Don't use your hands in others. Put the smile on your face. Now think of whoever and whatever just annoyed you. Come on. Now, if you did that, you will realize that it is impossible to put a smile on your face and still think the same way because now you can't be angry. The same way, if you're talking to people and you're stabbing the hands and carrying on, put your hands down and try and be angry with somebody. It just doesn't work. It's not the same. All right. So you have control and it's that simple. Crazy, eh? Absolutely crazy. So let's go back then. So we were talking about thinking of something that really, like I say, makes you so angry. Nothing can make you anything. That's your choice. But let's say, like bullying. Bullies bully the people who are vulnerable, who are soft, who are weaker. So they only bully because they the person they're bullying allows them to. And what I mean by that is this weaker person doesn't walk around going bully me, but they're not strong enough emotionally to handle the bully. So we have to look at that. Now, if you think of the bully, I kid you not, and you actually smile, then you start realizing that it's not that bad. And they're actually just weak human beings that feel so inferior about themselves that they will pick on other people to make them feel better, because if other people are miserable, then they are not the only ones. So now when you look at a bully, you go, oh my word, I never thought of it that way. They got nothing on me. I'm going to stand up for myself. And again, in the full program, you'll learn about how to assert yourself, how to stand in what we call the powerful pose, how to deal real life situations, how to deal with it. Okay. Then the next aspect of emotional intelligence is empathy. Empathy is not agreement. Empathy is not saying, okay, I agree with you because you're going to a tough situation. Empathy is saying, I don't necessarily understand what you're going through, but I feel for you and I'm here if you need me. People who show empathy, they want to understand what you're going through. So you would say to somebody, tell me more, but don't ask a person, tell me what is wrong or what are you going through if you don't want to listen. That is not fair. You don't say it. If you say, I'd really like to listen to you, but let me just finish what I'm busy with and then I'll come back to you. Don't go, oh, I can't handle this, another one of your episodes. That is a trigger to that person. You listen to connect. You don't listen to correct. So when the person talks and tells you what they're going through, you nod, you listen. You don't say, but you should have, and point the finger. Never, when a person is down, and yourself included, say to a person, but why did you go there? Then it wouldn't have happened. That's not the point. The point is whatever happened, happened. And what we need to do is say, I'm really sorry that happened to you, man. I wish I knew how to take your pain away or your discomfort. You listen to understand. Again, repetitive, not to respond. Now, I've already showed you the picture of the brain and the mind, but here we've got the heart versus the brain. You see, a crowded mind leaves no space for a peaceful heart. And it's such a powerful quote, because it's Christine Evangelo that actually posted that. And it's saying a crowded mind leaves no space. So if your mind is constantly busy and it's just full and it just never stops thinking, then you don't have place to find peace because you never give yourself that space. You see, being mindful, in other words, being in the here and now, is so powerful to you to basically just find the love within you for yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. And if you've never done this before, I'm going to show you how to start loving yourself. And start with this. If you took your hands, if you only have one hand, take one hand, but you do that and you physically cross over what is ever most, can you see what I'm doing? Whatever's most comfortable, do that to yourself. Do that. Now, if you're watching me, put your one hand on your left shoulder and your other hand on your right shoulder. It's easier if you cross your arms because then you're doing a proper hug. And hug yourself and tell yourself while you're hugging yourself one thing that you're proud of about yourself. Do it. How? You're telling yourself, I am very happy. I'm very happy, or I'm pleased with myself because, and give yourself a pat. That's what they call a pat on the back. Recognize yourself. You know what, Natalie, you've done a lot in life despite where you came from. Well done. Do that. Not on my not on my successes, but something, even if it's you got up a bit earlier today, or you took that first walk, or I kid you not, you brushed your teeth because you don't like brushing teeth. Anything that you did that was a challenge and you made it happen. Okay, you should be feeling better already. Thank you. I've seen all the comments, by the way. Somebody said when someone talks down on me, it makes me upset. Of course it would, but remember, you're choosing to be upset. When they talk down on you, that's on them. You have to look at them and say, in your mind, you see, don't do it out loud. You say, you know what? You have no control of your emotions, and it's okay. I do, and I'm going to choose to walk away. That's who wins. Okay, not that it's a competition. Now, what about relationship management? And speaking about that comment from Almir, what about relationship management when it comes to you with other people? Because now I've spoken about you with yourself, right? But this is now with others. You see, trust is built daily. When you communicate, always communicate to the extent where you're saying, is what I'm communicating clear? And am I being kind? Because that is absolutely key. All right. So when you want to ask a person a question, do you ask them because you really look for understanding, or is it just because I want to say something and I feel it's too quiet in the room? Because when they answer, you've committed by opening that door. Stay and listen. All right. Separate the person from the behavior. And this is really the key to emotional intelligence. Sorry, wrong one. To be able to say, well, that person is angry, but what are they angry about? They're angry because I was late again. Well, then don't say, oh, they're angry again. Go, you know what? I must work on my management of time. Moving forward with people and with yourself, the power within you is amazing because you're never going to speak in the negative. Sorry, give me a sec. I did say I love this content. So I want to get it all out there, everything I learned in the last 30 years. So why I'm saying this is everything that you do in life is based on how you talk to yourself, if I can say. So if the person walks in and they're in an angry mood and you say, oh, they're angry again, look at this person, you're in a bad mood. But why? They were the ones that were angry, not you. So why are you doing that? Okay. So now what you need to look at is say, you know what? They're in a bad mood and I'm in a good mood and they will not be stealing my thunder, if that makes sense. I'm going to have my good day. And honestly, all it does, all it says is, you know what? I choose to be happy. I get goosebumps when I say it because it works, people. I'm 56 years old and I can tell you now, I've never in my life thought life could be this simple just by listening to people and saying, hey, that's your let's call it poo, no swearing in this group. That's your nonsense and you keep your nonsense. I choose to be happy. Okay. So when the mind is set, the body's going to react. Now, relationship management is your ability to take your awareness, that awareness of self, taking your own emotions and being aware. I'm angry, I'm upset, somebody posted in the group, somebody makes me so upset because they talk down to me. That's the point. Why do they make you upset? That's on them. Now, remember, when somebody's angry, they might point fingers at you. But just because they're angry, it doesn't make it true. It's their truth. It's not necessarily your truth. It's what they decided to believe in their mind. And they are set. There's something called false memories. Go and read up about it. There's two things I wanted to look up about, and I'll post it in the chat when I'm done. False memories and how we create false memories out of things that happen, and it becomes our truth when it might be far from it. And the other thing is when we're sleeping, sleep paralysis. How many years I used to go to sleep as a child and fast asleep, and I wake up and my body is lame. It is numb. I cannot move. And I'm looking, and because we were taught this way, I believed it was tokoloshi. So we used to put, yes, I know it sounds strange, this white woman saying, what? My bed was on bricks because our lady told us, the lady who looked after us, our second mom, she said, you must put bricks at tokoloshi. I know, excuse me, but it's funny, but it's true. So up till me being a young mom, I put bricks under my kid's bed because the tokoloshi mustn't get it. It's only like 20 years later that I realized there was no tokoloshi, and it's called sleep paralysis. When we dream, we wake up, right? And we go, oh, I better get hold of this person. Something might have happened to them. But here's the reality. Nothing happened to them. It's our subconscious acting out when we sleep. It's dealing with so much that's in our subconscious. So when we sleep, everything plays out. We phone the person and they're fine. But when you wake up, you're in a mood because you need to get hold of them. You might even wake up crying. That is how powerful your mind is. Your mind doesn't differentiate and say, oh, you had a dream. Your mind goes, wow. You wake up in a cold sweat because you were in an accident or somebody else was. That's how powerful your mind is. So use the power of your mind to improve who you are. And remember, when you wake up, sorry?
I was saying time check, Miss Natalie.
Okay.
There's 2 minutes left of your presentation.
Fantastic. I'm actually almost done. Thank you. So remember that when you wake up, okay? Remember, it was a dream. Tell yourself, even if you wake up in the middle of the night. And if you have sleep paralysis, there's a way to get out of it. Go and research. All right. So in closing, there's one action this week. Pause before you respond to somebody. That 3-second golden pause. Ask one better question instead of the one you might have wanted to ask, and absolutely be conscious of your leadership. Okay. So just to reiterate, self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, relationship management are the 4 aspects. The bottom part of self-management and relationship management is regulation. It's learning how to set boundaries, follow the value, the rule, stick to who you truly are. And the recognition is the self-awareness where you go, look at me, well done. And the social is, of course, from a social setting where you recognize other people. I'm giving you the layperson version. There's a lot more to it. So, Mr. Speaker, I have a 1.5 minute video, if I may, so it might take me a minute over, but this is my closing, just to show you. Is that all right? It's just a positive close. Thank you, sir. Enjoy
No
this,
problem. You're
everybody.
welcome to.
Thank you. And I have tasted, so the sound is on.
Mom, how much is my life worth?
Well, that's a big question. Hold that thought. Take this stone and find out how much it's worth. And when you're done, return home. I'll answer that special question for you.
Mom!
TJ, what did you discover?
Excuse me, sir. Can you tell me how much this is worth?
I don't know, little man. I'll give you a banana for it.
Excuse me, sir. How much would the museum pay for this stone?
I love your enthusiasm, kid, but we don't need one of these in our collection now. Thank you, though.
This gem you have here is the most perfect gem I've ever seen. I can't imagine its value. To me, it appears priceless.
How much is it actually worth? And what does it have to do with the value of my life?
People will value you based on their point of view, their level of information, and their belief in you. But that doesn't change the fact that you are priceless. Remember, surround yourself with people who value you, just like the jeweler valued that gem, with love, care, and affection. Because, baby, you are truly priceless.
Okay. So in closing, it's powerful. I'll send the link as well, but that's the reality. You need to value yourself if you want others to. So instead of, this is just something, I do share my slides, of course, with the organization. So CCI will send it off to everybody. It's just saying, instead of using these phrases, you try and speak positively. Okay. So that, oh, sorry, it closed now, but that was me just saying thank you very much. I'm done. Thank you for the extra minute or two. I appreciate it, everybody.
Thank you very much, Miss Natalie. I mean, everyone is just raving about the presentation, even in the chat. You can see that there are people that value what you came through here, the graphics, and just you being practical about how we can really relate to the content was something amazing. A crowded mind leaves no space for a peaceful heart. So that is something that really, really, yeah, it touched
It
me.
resonates, eh?
So,
Yeah.
yeah, but also I saw yeah, a gentleman playing a saxophone there. There was no lady in a silhouette, and yeah, or two people facing each other. So that does come through. Being aware of your mental state or pattern, very very important here, and what you say to yourself as well being something that matters. I know when you mentioned that, a lot of people would go to affirmations, where you
Yes.
affirm, you say these things.
Yes.
I'm brilliant. I'm amazing. I'm the best. And
It
everyone.
works. Katlego, it works. You know my history now. It works. When you believe
Ah,
it, your mind believes it, and you start acting more confident because you're like, I deserve. And the video is case in point and captures everything I spoke about. It's easier than it sounds easier than it is, but that's why you attend programs like this, because people help you with that. So thank you to
yeah,
the
no.
audience as well, and thank you for all the feedback. I love it.
Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Natalie's presentation will also be available, will be made available for those that may want to engage with it further. But please hug yourself as much as you can. Be aware of your emotions as much as you can. But more or less, let's stop with the finger pointing, the difference between impact and intent. Really, really appreciate it there, Miss Natalie Lowe. We're going to put our next poll up. So please let's engage with these polls. In a moment, we're going to be, or very soon, we'll be going into our breakaways. And this is where we're looking forward to you engaging with us further. And some of those questions that you have here on the chat board, just please save them for the breakaway sessions as well, so you can interact with the speakers one after the other personally on that question coming through from their presentation. So thank you very much, Ms. Natalie Lowe, for that presentation. Our next speaker will be Mr. Neo Ndabani. Yeah, let's continue with those polls and just be interactive as much as we can, just to keep up. But I know that Natalie's presentation really gave us a food for thought there. So let's keep up with the same momentum. But our next speaker will be Mr. Neon Tabani. Neon Tabani is coming through as a communications professional with experience in corporate communication, stakeholder engagement, digital platforms, and internal communication systems. So he's currently working as a licensed officer at the Recruit Agri, where he supports communication between graduates, mentors, partner organizations, and internal teams, also contributing to organizational communication strategy and stakeholder engagement where the organization is concerned. He holds an honors degree in communication studies and also has worked across both corporate and public sector environments. So something worthwhile there. Nell's work focusing on how communication systems, structure, and flow can influence leadership effectiveness and organizational performance. So there's a lot that we can expect here. In his session on corporate communication systems and flow, Nell will be coming through to share the practical insights on structuring communication with organizations, improving team communication, and fostering open, transparent communication cultures that supports leadership and collaboration. So Nell's topic focusing mainly on corporate communication systems and flow. Mr. Neil, you have 20 minutes. It's over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Katlego. Just to confirm, can the colleagues see my presentation?
Yes, we can see your presentation, sir.
All right, thank you so much. So the first speaker spoke about leadership, being a leader. And now the second speaker spoke about emotional intelligence, right? So now getting into this particular topic, now you're a leader, now you're a manager, now you're leading an organization or you are leading a team. Now, the question is, how do you use communication to be effective? How do you use communication to ensure that your team is also effective? So that is what we're gonna look at in this particular session. So I'm very cognizant of time. So I'm gonna try and move as fast as I can, right? So like I've already highlighted now, corporate communication systems and flow. Right, the use of communication. How do you use communication for better collaboration within your teams? I know there's a cliche saying that communication is key, right? Even while communication may be key, but how do you use that communication? How do you use that key to open that specific door or to open that particular door? We can agree that you may have a key, but it may not be for the door that you're trying to open. So we're just gonna look at some of the things that as a leader, when you lead a team, how do you then use communication for better team collaboration, and for optimization of your department or your structure or the whole organization as a whole? So looking at effective communication, obviously that drives success, and I think as a leader, as a manager, you want success in your organization, you want success in your team, right? So we're gonna look at three things when we look at organizational success using effective communications. You have your structures, you have your optimizations, you also have your culture, right? Now your structures, they go from formal to informal pathways. How do you communicate with your team? There are levels where you use formal channels and there are levels where you use informal channels, right? Then optimization, practical strategies for channel selection. When you talk to your team about a certain thing, which channel do you use? Because each and every communication or message that you send out, you need a specific channel for a specific message. Now, you also look at feedback mechanisms. Do you allow your colleagues, do you allow your team members to bring feedback to you? And we're talking about constructive feedback. We're talking about honest feedback. Are they able to engage with you in that particular vision? And you also look at meeting effectiveness. When you have meetings, how effective are those meetings in your particular department, in your particular organization? And the third one would be the culture, right? Now, building psychological safety is the foundation of transparency, honest, and innovative dialogue. The type of culture that you create within your team, the type of culture that you create within your organization, is it safe? Is it safe for your colleagues, to know that they're in that safe space? I often see a meme on LinkedIn where they say HR would send you a link, please fill in this anonymous link. Then it shows you the next morning, your manager looking at you and how I thought it was anonymous, So do you build that psychological safety for your team members as when you lead them as a leader, right? Now, again, as a leader, you look at organizations, they operate through multiple communications pathways, right? So there are different levels to how you communicate, as a leader with your organizations. So you have your top-down communication. That is your leadership directives, your strategic vision, your policy announcement, right? So if you want to talk about the vision of the organization, if there are policies that you need to announce, you'd use top-down communication, right? Then you get your bottom-up communication. Now it goes to your employee feedback, right? Your innovative ideas moving down to management. So the team members, are they able to bring communication up to you? Are they able to share? Are they able to bring feedback? Are they able to share ideas that goes to management, right? And if you as an individual, you're a manager and you get ideas from your team members, do you also take it up one step further to higher management, right? Or do you gatekeep, the ideas and the things that your team members would like to take to management, right? So that's bottom-up communication. Then you also look at horizontal communication. Now, this is peer collaboration. and cross-departmental coordination, which I think is very important, because you get instances where one department does not know what the other department does, and yet you're in one organization. So you have silos within your organizations. The same communication that should be key, unfortunately, it's not helping in situations like that. So if in your organization you have horizontal communication, you get that collaboration from different departments. The finance department gets to understand why marketing departments need so much money, because according to finance department, the marketing department can be called an I blew it department, where they need money every day, right? But when there's that collaboration, then they're able to know and understand, oh, this is why they do this. And same vice versa, even to the marketing guys, then they're able to understand, oh, the finance department, they're saving money because of 1, 2, 3. So that cross-departmental collaboration, it's very important. And the last one would be your information communication, your informal communication, the grapevines, right? So now social networks, unofficial channels that influence organization culture and morale. So the informal communication, especially called normally named as the grapevine, that's a dangerous one. It's very dangerous depending on how it's used in the organization, but we'll also get to it in a moment. So as a strategic leader, strategic leaders now, they master both formal and informal communication. So you can't be a leader and say, well, I use formal communication only, or I use informal communication only. You, as a leader, you become flexible. Same applies to the leadership styles that they mentioned. If you're a leader that uses only one leadership style, then I can bet you're probably frustrated as a leader, or you're also probably frustrating your teammates if you're using one communication styles, because as the previous speaker have mentioned, you are dealing with people, and each and every individual in your team is different in a certain way. So not one channel or not one leadership method works for everyone, right? So now as a strategic leader, you master both, so you use formal channels for your announcement, your policy changes, your performance expectations, your documentations. So that's where you use your formal channels, right? So informal channel awareness, now that's where you monitor for early warning signs, right? Maybe you see a team member that is not performing, then you have a chat with them informally. How are you? How are you holding up? Is everything okay? You seem distracted, right? You have it at an informal level where even the colleague is maybe open and comfortable to talk to you, right? Then you also have the integration approach, right? Where you integrate your informal and formal. So maybe you did have an informal chat with that team member, and maybe then you also formalize it. You drop them an email or something. Thank you for the catch up. It was nice to talk to you like that. If you need assistance, if you need something, reach out. We also have on call for psychologists or whatever the case may be. So now you're taking the informal and formal and you're merging them to have a greater impact now. And also transparency principle, being transparent, right? Reduce grapevine misinformation by proactively sharing information. So now what happens at the grapevine, it's very, like I said, it's a dangerous place for an organization to be, depending on what the colleagues are talking about. Maybe the company is moving and no formal communication has been sent out, or the company or your department or your organization, it's not transparent about that. But if that were to reach the grapevine, it kills staff morale, it kills your team, it just destroys the whole team. And yet you have communication channels that you could use, to mitigate issues that take place at grapevine. So if something were to happen like that, you'd opt to be transparent in order to reduce the grapevine misinformation. So now the medium also shapes the message. So you also need to match your communication channel to the purpose. What are you saying? Which communication channel do you use? I think if you get a WhatsApp text, or you get a text that says, we need to talk, by default, I'm sure you already know, oh, then it means I'm in trouble. Then it means there is a problem. Then it means this is a serious discussion, because we need to talk. On its own, it already sets the tone of what you're probably going to talk about. So now, even as a leader, when you're leading your team, the communication channel needs to match the purpose. So let's look at when you use emails. Now, you use emails for formal updates and announcements, documentation and records, and also non-urgent communication. There are some communications that are not urgent, then you just drop drop it on email, then that particular team player will obviously see it when they get a chance and so forth. Then you have that chat method. You have your Slack, you have your Teams, right? So there, you just get your quick questions and answer. Hi, how far are you with that project? How far are you with that activity? And there's also that real-time collaboration. You meet along the boardroom or along the corridors. Are you still busy with that section? Are you getting it? Are you winning? And so also informal team updates. I mean, you catch someone in the kitchen and all of a sudden it turns into a staff meeting in the kitchen. Then you just get those updates informally. Well, I spoke to the service provider, but we're just waiting for 1, 2, 3. So those are just the chat that you just have on the side. Then you also have meetings. Right. So now in meetings, it's complex discussions, decision makings, and also brainstorming sessions. So when you have a meeting with your team members, they know that, in a meeting settings, obviously we can have complex discussions, decision making, brainstorming. Then it also sets the tone for the meeting when it's time to interact with them. Right. Now, another important point as a leader, establishing effective feedback loops. Right. You need to be in a space where your colleagues are able to bring back effective feedback. They need to be able to talk to you. They need to be able to interact with you, and they need to be able to be honest with you. If you are a leader and you ask an update about something work related and your colleague lies about it, then there's something wrong there. If they're not able to tell you straight out, unfortunately, it's not yet ready, unfortunately, this and this happened, then there's something going on, right? So to manage this, now, communication obviously is two-way, between you as the manager, as the leader, and as your team member. Regular check-ins, regularly check on your teams. How are you doing? Are you okay? The assignment that I gave you, was it clear enough? The last thing you'd want is to give someone an activity or only find out after 3 hours they still didn't understand the instruction, but they never said anything, So you regularly check in with your teams. How are you coping? Are you still on par? Are you understanding the instructions that are given to you, right? Then structured channels, suggest systems, and town halls designed for open feedback, let's talk, have a system in place. Maybe daily they check in. I think I'm good with this. I'm not good with that. So you have a channel that they know they can use. And now responsive action, another one, acknowledging feedback, communicating decisions, and close the loop on what was heard. Also as a leader, when they talk to you, acknowledge what they're saying, and communicate decisions. Maybe a team player comes to you, well, I'm not done with that task and I see deadline is approaching. Then make a decision as a leader. Do you extend it? Do you tell them to have more time? Do you give it to someone else? But now you don't even acknowledge the feedback from the colleague. Now that team player doesn't even know what to do. They don't know how to proceed, right? And again, the psychological safety, create an environment where feedback is welcomed, not punished, to foster honesty. Because now, if your colleagues or your team members are not able to talk to you honestly, are not able to provide you with proper feedback, automatically that kills, productivity of your particular department. They need to be able to talk to you as you are a leader. Look, I know you wanted this today and I know how urgent it is, but unfortunately I couldn't get it done. Or maybe they can project, I know I need to submit this in 2 days, but with the current workload, maybe I'm not winning. Is there anything that we could do? They need to be able to talk to you, be able to provide that feedback. And you as a leader, you also need to welcome the feedback that would come from your particular team members, right? Now, productive meetings require clear purpose, structure, and accountability, right? Now, I know you get a meeting request Friday at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. By default, that meeting is not going to be productive. I can tell you that for free, because on Fridays, everyone knocks off at 1 a.m. or 12 p.m., and when you set a meeting at that time, it's not going to work for all of you, right? But when you do set those meetings, have a clear purpose, right? What are we going to talk about in this meeting? Is it information sharing? Are we making decisions? Are we brainstorming? So that the people that are also coming to the meetings, they're also prepped in their minds. They know, well, in this particular meeting, I need to be in this kind of way, or I need to prepare this and that. So that you manage the time, you manage the meetings, and you get that productiveness out of that meeting, right? Structure the agenda. Share an agenda in advance, allocate time for topics and strictly stick to the schedule. Sometimes people go into meetings, they don't even know what the meeting is all about. They just know there's a meeting at 10, But if there's an agenda, it helps the meeting itself to run productivity. Right participants. I could never stress this more. I know you are a leader, you are in a leadership position, but you need to choose the right participant for whatever meeting that you are having. Now, you're getting people that don't contribute to the meeting. You get people that are not even involved in that meeting, and you get them into the meeting. You're killing productivity, because you only need to have the people in that meeting that will contribute to that particular meeting that you're having, right? So also have the right participants when you structure the meetings and actionable outcomes, right? At the end of the meeting, end with a clear decisions, specific action items, assign owners and deadlines. Yeah, okay, we had a meeting, we need to launch a campaign. Okay, when? Who's doing what? What are the timelines? So when you end a meeting, you also need to end with those actionable outcomes. I know the famous one, man, we'll take it offline. And then they never take it offline. In 2 weeks' time, the campaign needs to be launched and you are not there. You get it. And moving on to psychological safety, right? Now, psychological safety is the foundation of open communication. I cannot stress this enough. That your team need to feel safe in your department. They need to feel safe under your leadership. They need to feel safe when they talk to you, right? So the belief that one can speak up, ask questions, admit mistakes, and challenge ideas without fear of punishment or humiliation. If your team feels like that, I can promise you as a leader, you're gonna have a team that's very effective. You're gonna have a team that runs like a well-run oil machine, So you need to provide that psychological safety for your team members, and you do that using communication. And leaders share communication culture through actions and not words. Now, this is a tough one, you do it through your actions and not your words. I mean, you'd see a leader who tell you, guys, I have an open door policy. If you need something, come and talk to me. The leader has an open door policy until you walk through the door. Then when you walk through the door, look, I'm busy, close the door behind you. I thought you said you had an open door policy when you need to talk to you, right? Now, also as a leader, you lead through action, not just words. Active listening. Listen to your teammates when they talk to you, invite dissent, explicitly ask for alternative viewpoints, challenge groupthink, and reward constructive disagreement. Yes, I'm a leader. I think we can do it like this. But you, colleagues, also on the floor, do you have inputs? How do you think we can do it? And if they bring out a suggestion, an idea that works, also as a leader, reward that, accept that. Don't be in a situation because I'm the leader, then we do it like this. Yes, maybe you are the leader, but they have a better way of doing that particular task, and transparent decision making. Explain why behind decisions. Can we use this road? No, we're going to use this road. But explain, well, the reason why we are using this road is because we also need to pass by A and B. Then your team members, they're able to understand, oh, we're going to use this route because of 1, 2, 3. It's not a situation of maybe the person is just abusing the power. Once they understand why you're deciding to do something the way you're doing it, it also helps them, be productive, be active, know why we're doing what we do, right? And accountability. So the model of communication behavior you expect, admit when you fall short and course correct publicly. Yes, I am a leader, but I know, guys, I said we're going to do it in this way, but it didn't quite work out the way that it was supposed to be, Can we go back to the drawing board and see if we can come up with something, right? I mean, you can see as a leader that, well, I thought I would do it in this way, but it's not working. Take accountability also as a leader. Guys, it didn't work out the way that it was meant to be. I think we just need to go to the drawing board and take it from scratch, whatever the case may be. Now, that also teaches the team that you are leading also to be accountable. If our leader can take accountability, especially when they've done something wrong, then the team knows that they're in a safe space. You are not that leader that only takes accountability when everything is going right. So now practical strategies for implementation, communication audits, assess your current channels. Are they working? team agreements, co-create norms for channel selection, response times, meeting protocols, feedback expectations, agree with your teams in terms of what you need to do and what you're gonna do, right? Then regular rhythms, right? Like check to those colleagues, talk to them. How is it going? How are things doing? Are you still on par? Are you still understanding? How are you outside work? Check them, have those regular rhythms. Your team members shouldn't be at a place where they're afraid to talk to you because you are the leader. They're afraid to talk to you because you're superior, and continuous improvement. This goes without saying. Maybe what worked this week may not work next week. Maybe what is working for the next 2 weeks may not work the upcoming 2 weeks. So always note that even in your plan, even in your communication, even in what you do, you also still need continuous improvement. It never ends. Like they've said, AI is taking over. What worked today may not necessarily work the upcoming next week, right? So as I wrap up, optimizing communications requires structure, strategy, and culture. So I like this line. Effective corporate communication is not accidental. No, it's not. It requires intentional design, right? And consistent practice. So if you need your corporation or your department to be effective, if it is indeed effective right now, it's not by accident or it's not by chance. It's because you're intentional about your department, your organization being effective, right? And you are consistent in what you do, right? You don't become an open door policy leader this week and next week you're something else. You don't become a safe space for 6 months and after 6 months you're something else. You are consistent, in your practice, and you are intentional. And going back to emotional intelligence, okay, fine, I'm a leader. In the morning when I got to the parking lot, I got a text, and the text says, it's not you, it's me. Then you know it's over, right? But now, on that very same day, you are going through whatever you're going through. But here's an employee that wants to talk to you, that wants to vent to you, Now, as a leader, are you able to practice emotional intelligence? Are you able to be there for that particular employee? Because now you're practicing emotional intelligence, right? So some 5 key points to take: navigate both formal and informal communication structures strategically, match communication channels to message purpose and audience need, establish clear, consistent feedback loops, to enable two-way communication, run focused, effective meetings that serve as communication hubs, and foster psychological safety as the foundation for open, honest dialogue. I'm sure with this, you definitely won't go wrong. So without wasting more time, I'm not sure if I was still in time or if I was out, but thank you so much, Katero, for this opportunity. And thank you so much for all the teams and the members that have attended the masterclass. I guess for some of the questions, we'll probably talk about them in the breakaway rooms. With that being said, I'd also like to acknowledge everyone who has attended. I know the famous saying, all protocols observed. Thank you.
Indeed, Mr. Ntabane, thank you very much, sir, for that insightful presentation there. I mean, effective corporate communication is not accidental. It requires intentional design and consistent practice. That is really, yeah, spot on. And when you were speaking there, I was thinking of the quote that would often play itself out in some of these corridors of the workplaces. It's either my way or the highway. And that is something that, people are experiencing in their daily lives, where you have managers or bosses or leaders that are just difficult. So it was really important that you outlined that. But structured productivity, actionable outcomes, that's very, very important here, especially being structured when you're setting up a meeting. I like what you said, to say there's some people that just set up a meeting, you don't know the agenda, you don't know what is happening. So as a leader, it's very important that you're intentional and you structure those outcomes. The silo approach, it's not going to work. That is something that we need to guard against, especially in corporate spaces that we're navigating, but also the morale. I mean, when you were speaking here now, I thought of the morale, that as a leader, you're the one that influences the morale within the organization. So how you structure, how you communicate, how you have that side chats, the informal talks, how that particularly happens, you need to guard against the grapevine so that you're able to, in any way, communicate clearly, thoroughly, and lead your organization in a way that will see it reaching greater heights. So thank you very much, Nell, for that. And just a reminder to our attendants that we are going to be going for a breakaway session in a moment, and that is where we are looking forward to you just interacting and engaging with the speakers one after the other. Just get a sense of how they move and how we're going to be doing this masterclass intentionally. So, still have two speakers to go. Miss Manel Scott, she'll come through after the breakaway session, and Mr. Siyabonga Madolo, who's also coming through as the last speaker. But a big thank you to everybody that has been with us from when we started to where we are now, and those that have been participating in some of the polls that we were able to put up a little bit earlier. And as we go into the breakaways, please, please, please come back up to 10 minutes, and let's just make sure that we use this 10 minutes in a way that matters. So we are back here in the next 10 minutes, and in the breakaway rooms, that is where you can choose as to which platform you would want to go into. Either you go into Sia as platform or session, you go into at least Natalie has presented. You can, if you have questions for her, you can engage with her. But there's one for Manel, there's one for Nell as well, and for Mr. Shumba. So let's break into the breakaway sessions. We're back here in the next 10 minutes. Thank you. So remember that this is where you choose which room you're going to go into. So if you haven't chosen a room yet, please do choose a room. And then that is where you'll find yourself. It's either you're going to go into either of the speakers' rooms, but a reminder that we're back here in the next 10 minutes.
Who wants to start?
Can I take a first bite?
Over to you, sir.
No, good. What a beautiful presentation in terms of the different types of leadership. But what intrigued me is when you gave the different categorization of the types of leadership that are there. But there's one that we are not talking much about. One that you've got your ordinary, not even in management, your ordinary worker, but has so much influence in terms of shaping direction of the institution, so it's leading from behind. So I want us to explore that concept to say that what could it be that this guy cannot go to take the center stage, but he prefers, to lead from behind and he influence the direction of the institution. I think there's a nuance in terms of how leadership transform itself, where you've got somebody sitting at the back but leads the organization. Thanks.
Lovely stuff. And leadership, like as I said, it's not about a position. Some people can choose to lead from the center, some lead from the...
Call it baggage, but they have the baggage. Okay, they have the baggage. So in order for you to keep your sanity, you need to say to yourself, I want to be there to support them, but you have to talk about it though, Cordy. I was talking earlier about self-talk and how powerful our self-talk is, because our self-talk, what we say to ourselves, absolutely impacts on our mindset, and our mindset dictates what happens to us in life. Because if we say, like you say, now I'm really sad, and everything is treated from that point of view in the workplace or in your social setting, you go to bed and you don't feel good, you know? So I can listen to somebody's story and I can share and I can try and feel their hurts, their pain, but I do say, I would love to help you and I'm here if you need anything. And I would do that. I would say, just know that I am here when you're ready to talk. But I do that. It's the same thing, you know, I've been through a lot of horrible things in my life and abuse.
Have yeah, you normally have to have ways to teach them how to communicate with their downlines, and the session has been very meaningful. um where I normally struggle is with, I don't know, with that definition of leaders and managers being differentiated. Where I normally struggle is where the leaders or the managers always feel like they are the ones that they are correct, and their ideas are always the best, and how to make them realize and recognize that sometimes it is exactly that's hindering them from being able to maybe get big breakthroughs or to lead their teams in a very meaningful way. So yeah, from listening to that team and to that presentation, and just incorporating the how can I put it, just incorporating the formal and the personal, so that they are able to be more approachable. So I found that very meaningful, and I'm sure I'll be incorporating it into my own work. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nelisiwe, for sharing that with us. It can be very frustrating, especially, we have a hand. Please proceed, Melanie.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And good morning to everyone. Mr. Ndabani, I just want to say thank you very much. I think what you said was very insightful. I also do not have a direct leadership role. I actually work as an education mentor for a course on ALX
All right, I guess we are back from the 10 minutes, and the system was just set up in a way that it would, yeah, bring us back here all together once again. So I'm hoping that that session, the breakaway session, was extremely meaningful. I managed to attend two, right? Two of them. One would be the one in Natalie's breakaway room, and I think Natalie, we should connect you there with Nandi so that you're able to continue and just help her there, just wrap up that question that she had for you. But also at the same time, I attended Mr. Shumba's session as well. Yeah, the question was very, yeah, it was very spot on in terms of leading from behind and influencing the direction from the organization. That question coming through from one of our participants here, leading from the center, back and front, being a source of influence in the organization that you lead. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to connect some of our participants with the speakers even after the sessions, so that we continue these conversations and the network is intact as well. But a big thank you to everybody that came through, everybody that attended the sessions as well. And this will then move us into a video. I want us to play a video. This will remind us of who has invited us here. This will be a video coming through from CCI, and it will just be a refresher of some sort, and it will be linking us and just, yeah, helping us to just settle a bit. And our next speaker then will be Manuel Scott. But after the video, I'll give you a little bit of details around her and introduce the topic as well. Let's tune into that video.
Core Competency Institute is a management consulting and institutional development firm dedicated to building real-world competence in organizations. Our mission is to strengthen leadership, systems, and execution to ensure sustainable results, and our vision is to be the trusted partner transforming potential into high-performing institutionalized competence. We help leaders tackle where strategy breaks down, addressing execution delays, capability gaps, and risks that prevent organizations from achieving their goals. Our organizational competency diagnostics provides clear insight into capability gaps, operational risks, and systemic obstacles, giving directors the clarity to make confident decisions. Through targeted intervention programs and institutional roadmaps, we embed sustainable performance, ensuring plans translate into measurable results. If your organization struggles to turn strategy into results, partner with your trusted Competency Institute. Reach out to us via email or directly through our channels and social media. Our capable team is ready to deliver.
Oh, yeah, that is the Core Competency Institute. And the reason why you and I are communicating this morning and really having joined this masterclass. Remember something that even Mr. Neon Dabani mentioned there, the issue of outcomes, right? The actionable outcomes. That is what we're aiming for where this session is concerned, which is why I'm saying that we would want to connect you once again with the speakers, even beyond this masterclass, so you're able to interact with them a little bit further. But objectives, we're looking at just understanding the foundational principles of leadership and just clearly differentiating between leadership and management. That has already come through from one of our speakers, but applying core communication strategies for leadership effectiveness, that becomes very important in terms of the actionable outcomes and what we would want to get out of this session moving forward into our organizations, but navigating corporate communication systems to improve team collaboration and ensuring that you're all on the same page, from the leader, the CEO, to even the person that helps as well within the organization in terms of cleaning and the likes. Everyone in the organization does matter, but also developing a personal action plan for that continued leadership growth. It's very important. And that is what I picked up as well from the session that I attended with Natalie, that most of the people that are here would be looking to ensure that they leave this session better people. So I'm hoping that this then would be our objective and what we get from this session. Our next speaker will be Miss Manuel Scott. Manuel Scott is a seasoned executive and a visionary strategist coming through with an over a decade experience in empowering individuals, teams, and organizations to unlock real competence beyond credentials. She's also the founder and the principal consultant at the Core Competency Institute, a dynamic management consulting and training hub focusing on building influence, strategic leadership, and organizational effectiveness. Others would know her as the business coach. So, Manel, are very passionate about equipping Africa's next wave of leaders and innovators with principal transformative skills, whether she's consulting for high level executives, developing a thought leadership content, or even hosting empowerment platforms like the Influence Code Masterclass and the Hidden Glory podcast. But her mission remains the same. Maneo is coming through this morning on a conversation and a topic centered around communication principles. Without any waste of time, Maneo, it's over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Katlego. It's such an honor to have such great people as an audience that we're going to be speaking about one of the most important pillars of leadership. But before I delve into my presentation today, and I hope I'm going to be able to keep to time, I'd like to just see with an indication of a show of hands, how many of you have ever given instructions, clear instructions as you would have thought, but got unexpected results from the instructions that you would have shown? So just with an indication of a show of hands, a fire emoji, just to see that everyone is still alive and everyone is still engaging today in this amazing masterclass. But this is quite a common issue in leadership. It's a leader would have a vision, an idea, and what they would like to see materialize at the end, or their objectives. But we struggle with execution. So in today's presentation, I'm going to speak to that, how you can then navigate your way to influence and ensure that the vision that you have in place is actualized, either through mobilization or through clear communication, which is very important. Welcome again to the session. Today, we unlock the true power of your voice as a leader. We are not just talking. We're talking trust, we're talking impact, we're talking leadership as a performance art. And communication is the stage where you execute your vision. So over the coming 20 minutes, we're going to move past theory. You've heard a lot today. Today, it's information overload. I hope everyone has a note and a pen ready where they're busy taking out notes of what every speaker was saying, because that's exactly what I was doing. But communication becomes the key of leadership, because without communication, then how do you expect anyone to understand what you're trying to achieve? All right. So we're not just going to be talking, we're going to be interactively. I'd like to hear what the questions are. I'm going to have my eyes set on the chat box as well. So in my presentation, I can try to cover up most of what I would be experiencing in the Q&A session. So we're going to turn all these principles into practical practice, okay? So first and foremost, it's important that once you've answered that question, how you have given instructions, and you just got an unexpected result, meaning it wasn't anything you were expecting. Or for instance, you communicate something and you go back as leaders, we have a tendency to go back, regurgitate what we said, and then come back and go, but that's not what I actually meant. Or you hear somebody translate or explain your instruction to somebody else, and you're thinking to yourself, that's absolutely not what I was trying to say. Well, that comes back to, does it align with what you're trying to say? Are you communicating clearly? Is it clear to the recipient as well? Do you engage with a dialogue when you're trying to communicate? Or is it just a one-way conversation? Like Mr. Ntabani talked about the different channels of communication, the upwards, the downwards, he literally went into details about the various systems that you can apply as a communicator or a leader in communicating efficiently. But most importantly, also, I heard most of the leaders also spoke about it. They reiterated it one after the other, being responsive and proactive. And do you listen? Are you actively listening? But we'll get into that as we move through this session that I'm going to share with you. But does it align with the vision? Does it communicate your vision, what you want to execute? Without communication and aligning the words with your vision, you will not communicate effectively. Communication as a tool also defines culture, because you could easily use communication to align the entire organization. How do you communicate within the organization? You know, you get people then categorize your company as it's a strict company, you know. Leaders, you're not supposed to talk to the top tier. You strictly speak to their PAs. That builds a culture or a way of behavior amongst people, your subordinates or people that you lead or preside over. And it's very important that you're cognizant of that when you structure your communication systems and processes. What type of culture are you trying to, what atmosphere, what tempo are you trying to introduce into the organization? Is it going to encourage efficiency and productivity, or does it discourage it? So that's also important. Also, communication assists us in reducing ambiguity. You have to make sure that your communication is clear. I know sometimes we are tempted to speak a certain way. You spend so much time in boardrooms that you find it difficult to communicate at different levels, but you need to also come back into the office space or come back over those that you manage or lead over or preside over and communicate with them at a level of the understanding. So your communication as well should be clear. There shouldn't be any cause for one to try misinterpret what you actually tried saying. So it's very important for you to, at any cost, to reduce speaking in unclear language, for lack of I don't want to say using big words, but an unclear language. What you say should be clear to everyone and should be relatable. What this also does is it breeds trust, because once you can communicate clearly, and after communicating clearly, you inquire, do you understand? It opens the door for people to ask questions, which builds on what Mr. Ndabani and Ms. Lowe were also talking about, which is psychological safety, of having a place or an environment where you can communicate with your team. I know at leadership level, you're always thinking, but there's so much that we're dealing with. There's so much that I need to deal with at strategic level. But you need to get the principles and foundations of communication right. Because not only is it a tool, it is the lifeline of your entire organization. So if you're not putting principles in place and you are not then also introducing this from the bottom all the way to the top, then you're going to have gaps that are going to cause issues, and alternatively towards the productivity of your own objectives. Ms. Lowe also spoke. I just felt like when I was listening to all the other speakers, like I'm going to sound like I'm summarizing everyone's presentation and bringing it all back home. But authenticity and self-awareness is very important as a leader. And that also speaks a lot to how you communicate. You need to find your voice. Avoid corporate speak when you're trying to communicate issues around your vision, or even trying to communicate to people that you lead over. Avoid the corporate jargon. Being human and relatable makes you more credible and accessible to your team. And once you're credible and accessible, it builds and fosters trust, which is also very important in sustaining professional relationships, is when, like Mr. Ntabane said, when your staff has psychological safety, they can trust you without feeling, if I say this, then my job is on the line, or I'll be victimized, or I'll be what's the word to describe it? I'll be treated a different way to other people because I voiced out my opinion, or I tried expressing an opinion that is different to what the leader or my manager had put on the table. That finding your voice as you and knowing yourself and being authentic in that gives them that open access and credibility also. It gives them that perspective or perception of you that is reliable. Also being vulnerable. I think Ntate spoke about it, that you are human after all. You are not a robot. You're not AI. Even AI makes mistakes. So being vulnerable is also another way of communicating accessibility to your teams or your people within your various teams, and admitting mistakes within your management, or even if you had a different perspective and somebody raised something else, but you took the decision to go ahead with that anyways. Being vulnerable is very important. You need to come back and say, yes, you were right. I had seen a different perspective, but I now see it from your angle. I know that's one of the most difficult things to do as leaders, because you feel like you're giving away your credibility when you accept mistakes, when you accept to have been in the wrong at that time. But in actual fact, it only shows your team that you are human. You also make mistakes. And it also helps out because the team can then, at a later stage, when they make their own mistakes, instead of trying to cover them up until it becomes a risk that was not mitigated properly, they would approach you because they know you are human and you've had your own fair share of mistakes, and you've come back and say, I have made mistakes. They would also in return do the same. And that allows you to actually mitigate situations that might compromise you or be of compromise to the company itself in the long run. So very important for you to think about that. And also being consistent. I think earlier on this week, I had an interview with Katlego again on Power FM, and I spoke about credibility a lot in terms of leadership and in terms of how you are being perceived, which is another way of communicating. It's the impression that you give to people, your values. Do you stick to it? Are you consistent? Do you say one thing, but your actions say something else? Because if you're not consistent and you're not credible, then you cannot stand as a leader. It is totally impossible for you to stand as a leader because, like Natalie said, who's going to follow an inconsistent, and a person that lacks credibility, that has no values? Nobody wants to follow such a leader. But when you're consistent and you align your words with your actions, it's the fastest way to establish and maintain leadership integrity. Very important. So keep that in the back of your mind. And self-reflection, also, you need to deeply understand your own communication basis. Why are you, or biases, sorry. What are your biases? How do you communicate? Are you oppressive in your communication because you sit in a leadership position? Are you inclusive in your communication? Do you consult? Do you consider others' opinions? Are you actively or passively listening when you communicate? This triggers this prevents them from negatively impacting others. Because you're aware of them, you would know, when I speak to Maneo, this is the tone, or this is the approach that I need to employ. When I speak to Mr. Schubert, this is the tone and this is the approach that I need to employ when speaking to them. So authenticity and self-awareness also play a very important role in communicating for leaders. So as I've mentioned, now speaking to active listening and influence, we have a tendency of not looking people in the eyes when we speak to them. And that's another language in itself. That is you communicating in yourself, or fiddling with our phones. We're always on our devices. You know, somebody walks into your office, finds you on your phone, and you're trying to respond to a very important message. At that point, drop the phone and listen as a leader. Drop the phone, let your body, your face, your body language, your facial expression, your environment all say, I am listening to you. You have my undivided attention. So make sure that you are actively listening and not passively listening, because I'm sure you've experienced it, or how many of us have experienced it? We were not born leaders. So at a certain point in our lives, there was a time when you walked into your boss, your manager, your leader, whether in religion, social, or business, and this person is busy on the phone, and you're going on and on and on, and all they're doing is nod, yeah, I hear you, yeah, I hear you. And at the end of it all, they give you a response, and you still don't understand what they're responding to in the million things that you were talking about, which also says you are not listening to me. You are not listening to me. And it's very important for people to feel that they can relate to you. Remember, I spoke about relatability. They can relate to you as a leader. So also in listening, we need to move away from listening to respond and focus on listening to understand. You need to listen, you need to hear, you need to understand, and then find a response to it. So don't just listen because you have a preconception of what they're going to talk about. Hear the thoughts, hear the ideas. That way you get to engage, ask questions, follow up on statements that they're presenting during that time. That's another way of actively listening. Oh, okay, so how do you think we can do that? Do you think it's better for us to do this or do that? If they give you an answer, oh, why is that so? Why do you think so? That's now actively listening and showing that I'm interested in understanding your perspective so I can make an informed decision. Maintain eye contact. I've already spoken about that. An open posture to signal genuine value. We have a tendency of folding our arms when we speak, okay? Or there's that we do, gestures that you use with our hands. All of this is communication. Communication is not only the words that come out of our mouths. Our body language also communicates a certain message. And funny enough is, for body language, someone doesn't need to really understand it or comprehend what you're trying to say with your body language, but it's like an intuition thing. I can already tell when somebody doesn't want to talk to me. I can already tell when I'm being an irritation because of somebody's facial expressions. So you as a leader need to pay attention to that. You need to be conscious of your facial expression at all times. Let it be warm, let it be welcoming. You know, even your body language, don't close yourself up. I think Natalie, in one of the modules in the actual program for the Leadership and Communication Mastery, the actual program, which is a 16 module program, there is the in-depth part of emotional intelligence, where we talk about body language and how you communicate with your body without being aware, how you can even shortfall yourself by the way your body language is speaking at that time before you even open your mouth. You're hunched up, you're not interested, you have your hand over your chin. That is all. I'm not interested, just finish, just say what you want to say and leave my office. So a leader needs to have a certain disposition when you say you are actively listening to someone, and have open-ended inquiries. I've already spoken about that. And strategic silence. Always pause before you respond. Always pause. I always say, and during coaching sessions, think of 3 possible responses and choose one. That's the 3-second pause. Because while you're thinking of your 3 different responses, you can taste which one will come out better and which one will express what you're actually trying to communicate. And the receiver will receive the message as you wanted to put it out. I hope I'm not running out of time. I'm not going to go so much into detail about emotional intelligence because I believe that Natalie did an exceptional job with it. But also this speaks to your communication principle. You need to acknowledge emotions, perspective taking, compassionate feedback, and be inclusive. All right, very important. So talking about clarity and brevity, the so what, I always say start with the so what. Start with the most critical information. Ensure the key takeaway is delivered before the audience attention wanes. The importance of communication. What is it? So what? What? So what? Very important. This is the single most critical piece of information before you lose their attention. So while you have someone sitting in front of you, I know you're in a hurry to get to the end, get to the point, but you need to do it in a way that communicates empathy, that you're listening, and you don't change your facial or body language, right? So simple language, avoid jargon, as I said earlier, in complicated corporate language as a leader, complex terminology, please let's stay away from it. Let's be clear. Accessible language removes barriers and prevents costly misinterpretations, because that could ultimately cost you a lot when people don't understand what you're trying to communicate. And the most frustrating part is when you're inaccessible. So nobody gets an opportunity to come back to you and say, I did not understand this. What did you mean by this? So they can action your instruction efficiently. Okay, one goal per message. Make sure that your communication is not clogged up. You're not saying too many things all at one go. So there must be one objective for every message that you put out, and respect time as well. Brevity is a sign of respect. Concise meeting increases the likelihood that your communications will be read and acted upon. So very important. When I start seeing Katlego on, I know that means I'm running out of time. So, transparency, I'm just going to run through it. I won't elaborate on it, and I guess I'll take everyone through most of it during the Q&A sessions. So transparency and trust. I solely believe that being transparent is better than being honest, because people choose to be honest. People want to tell you what they did and how they did it. I want to know what you're planning on doing, so that even when you do it, I'm aware that it's being done. Okay, so I prefer transparency. So clarity before you act. Share your why, proactive communication, honesty and accessibility. Make sure that you share the why, so that when you have to make tough decisions, people get to understand the logic behind why you made that decision. Don't just give plain my way or the highway. That's not communication. Take time to explain yourself to your teams. Explain yourself is very important. It builds trust. It fosters collaboration. It fosters input and psychological safety. Proactive communication is everything. Say before. Don't wait to be asked questions. If this is what you plan, that's why in organizations you have your 5-year plan, or your 10-year or your 20-year plan, and you break it down into 5-year strategic plans, where you have your annual operational plans that you run on every year to ensure that you reach your targets. Proactively communicate. If there are any changes, don't wait until something wrong happens to communicate. It doesn't show that you are inclusive if you do that. Adaptive communication styles. Know your audience. I spoke about this earlier on. Always identify who you're speaking to and how you need to speak to that person. It's not the same at every level. Executive level, mid-management, and your junior staff, you do not interact or relate with them the same. There's a different approach to all of them. So make sure you know your audience. Also know the cultural competence in terms of language, how we communicate, because you have a diverse group of people at your exposure. They don't see communication the same way. Someone else might see you being playful as being relatable, and someone else might disrespect you because you're a playful person. So understand the cultural backgrounds and differences of your people. It will equip you to communicate properly. And with medium selection, always choose the right channel to communicate. Face-to-face for very important and sensitive issues, email for documentation, digital chat for those fast and urgent messages that you just need to put across. Also consider that no one wants to read a 5-pager message over WhatsApp. I can promise you that. They're just going to read the first few lines and put it to the side, and your message then never goes across. So tone flexibility between crisis management and celebrating team success to maintain morale. I think Natalie also spoke about that. It's very important for us to be able to communicate. Like when you're angry, know how to communicate. When you're happy, know how to communicate, because you can lose your credibility by reacting in an uncalled manner, maybe reacting based on emotions. Humanize, use anecdotes. People love storytelling. Tell stories as much as you can to make sure that your message goes across or that your vision is shared. So always use anecdotes, relatable stories. It sticks, and people will remember what your instructions are and what your objectives were. Connect to people. Emotional resonance is always important. Make sure that you're able to connect with them in your messaging or in your communication. And paint the future. Nobody wants to follow a leader that has no picture of the future, which is also very important. Ntate Ntabane spoke about the importance of feedback for growth. So I'll skip through that slide. We'll keep through that. But if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to check in with me during the breakout session. But for continuous practice and influence, please practice communication. It doesn't matter how big you think you are. Humility is everything. We learn every day. We only die when we stop learning. So pick a communication principle that you know you were struggling with, whether it is to communicate efficiently, whether it is you listening or interacting with junior level staff, or even having expectations, because sometimes we expect that certain level teams will be able to interpret or decode our messaging, only to find that they did not understand, and that becomes frustrating for you as a leader. So choose one principle of communication every week and practice it daily, like you would practice your math or practice your accounting or practice your speaking. Do it every day. Practice that one skill every day and measure the impact. Observe the changes in the team morale and productivity as you refine your approach. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Over to you, Mr. Lodi.
Thank you very much, Ms. Manel Scott. That was extremely insightful, and I'm hoping that each and every one of the leaders here that can relate. I'm sure there's a nuance of one of us, in everything else that the speakers has highlighted here. But I love what you said about respecting time, and I'm looking at the time like, oh my God. So yeah, I love what you said. We really need to respect time as leaders, but also be able to communicate with everyone within the organization, the hierarchy, the tone, the flexibility. That's very, very important, especially when you look at where we find ourselves now. The approach is something that is extremely important here. But check yourself as a leader. That we need to constantly check in here. Those special expressions, hey, guard against those. No matter if you woke up on the right side of the bed or the previous meeting has gotten you all emotional, you need to be able to just center yourself. But really, really appreciate that presentation, Manel. And you're able to engage with Manel and other speakers as well as we go along. I'm looking at the time. We do have one more speaker that will take us through a session here, an exciting one. Our final speaker for this day would be Mr. Siyabonga Matolo, who's coming through as an entrepreneur. He's a business coach, he's a mentor and a speaker. He's got an over 18 years of leadership and business building experience. So this afternoon, we're going to really hear from him in terms of some of the work that he's done there at INSEED Development, supporting leaders and entrepreneurs, but also just pushing the practical, people-centered leadership approach where our businesses are concerned. He's a business coach and one person that has been in this space for quite some time. This morning, going into the afternoon, Mr. Madolo will be speaking to us on change management and leading through change. Mr. Siyabonga Madolo, it's over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Katero. Good day and good evening, everyone, depending on which time zone you are joining us now on this masterclass. I am Siyamadolo, born and based in East London of South Africa in the Eastern Cape province. I am very honored to be invited and be a contributor to this vital leadership and communication masterclass. On this session, we will be speaking on leadership as the power to influence, focusing on how clarity of purpose, emotional intelligence, and effective change communication shape credible and impactful leadership. My kickoff phrase is based on the late Dr. Miles Monroe's definition of leadership, that, and I quote, leadership is the capacity to influence others through inspiration generated by a passion, motivated by a vision, which is birthed by a conviction that is produced by a purpose. And he flips this definition around to also say that leadership is the discovery of your purpose, a purpose that will produce your conviction, conviction which will produce your vision, vision that will produce your passion, and passion which is the key to inspiring people, and close quote. In the early 1990s, as a teenage boy, I was introduced to the teachings of Dr. Miles Monroe by my older brother, Pumelelo. At the time, I could not have imagined how profoundly that moment would shape my understanding of leadership. His teachings
If I can
awakened.
come in there, Mr. Madolo, apologies. They're asking that you please move closer to the mic so we can hear you proper. You are a little bit far, so
Okay.
yeah, just come
All right.
closer to the microphone so we're able to hear
Okay.
you proper. Thank you,
All right.
sir.
So can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so I was saying I was introduced to Dr. Miles Monroe's teachings by my older brother Mpumelelo. At that time, I could not have imagined how profoundly that moment would shape my understanding of leadership. His teachings awakened something inherent within me, the realization that leadership is not a title to be pursued, but a responsibility to be embraced. I still remember vividly attending one of his seminars when he visited our country in 1995. Sitting in that hall, listening to him speak about purpose, influence, and responsibility, something settled deep in me. It confirmed that leadership is about impact, not position. From that point onward, I became both a student and a practitioner of leadership. And over the years, through experience, reflection, and practice, one conviction has become clear to me that true leadership is stewardship. When leaders see themselves as stewards entrusted with people, resources, influence, and time, leadership shifts from self interest to service. And if this understanding were truly embraced, we would see meaningful change and lasting transformation in our organizations. We would raise stewards who lead change for the betterment of our commercial, political, religious, and social institutions alike. Leadership at its highest form is not about power, it is about responsibility and how faithful we manage what has been entrusted to us. So let's move to lighting the way through change. Leaders as torchbearers. Co-authors Nancy Duarte and Patty Sanchez talk of leaders as torchbearers in their book Illuminate. Torchbearers light the torch for what season is next, what era is next. They call leaders torchbearers who don't just point to a destination, they light the path for what season is next, what era is unfolding. As we enter new seasons of life, leadership is not only about knowing where we are going, but about illuminating the path forward, the change for ourselves and for those following. People don't only need direction, they need visibility, reassurance, and meaning as they step into unknown. In their book, they also talk about 5 things that torchbearers do. One, they speak. In other words, they tell what's happening around them, where they are going. Secondly, they tell stories to remind people of where they have been, what has happened, and where they should be probably consider going in the future that's related to past stories. 3, they create rituals. In other words, what are habits that we want to carry on for? And then 4, they use symbols that inspire. In other words, what are mile markers that we can use? But most importantly, leaders, they listen. They are emphatic and they understand the traveler's fear when stepping out into a new curb. It's dangerous waters, right? It's unknown territory. Torchbearers listen to that, but constantly ooze with empathy and the redream message. Now let's talk about the human response to change, resistance versus buy-in. Let's take a look at this image. Both sides show the word change. Same change, 2 completely different experiences. On the left, change feels like chaos, fear, uncertainty, and threat. On the right, change feels like clarity, opportunity, and hope. The difference is not the change itself. The difference is the human response to change. And this is the first leadership lesson. That change is not primarily a logistical process. Change is a human emotional process. When change is introduced, people move through a predictable emotional curve. First, it's shock. Some will say, I didn't see this coming. Second, denial. This won't really happen. Third, frustration. Why are they doing this? This will never work. This is where most resistance lives. Finally, acceptance. Okay, this is happening. How do I adapt? Buy-in only happens after people reach acceptance. Leaders often try to push people from shock straight to acceptance using logic, using more slides, more emails, more explanation, but people cannot think clearly while they feel unsafe. That is why logic alone does not create buy-in. If we look again at the image, there's fire, lightning, broken systems, a person with crossed arms. Crossed arms say, I don't feel safe. I don't trust this. No strategy can open the crossed arms. Only trust can. Now, if we look at the right-hand side of that image, we see an open window. We see light, we see green path. This represents psychological safety. People don't buy into change because it is perfect. Winning the hearts and the minds of people unlocks the buy-in of people. They buy into change because they feel respected, they feel informed as well, they feel involved. So what is the leader's real job in change? It is not to manage the plan first, nor to manage the timeline first, but to manage their own emotions first. Before performance comes safety, before execution comes understanding, and before commitment comes empathy. When leaders acknowledge fear, resistance softens. When leaders ignore fear, resistance hardens. Here is the mindset shift. As a leader, stop asking, why are they resisting? And start asking, what are they feeling? Behind resistance is usually fear. Fear of loss, fear of incompetence, fear of uncertainty. Address the feelings and the behavior changes. Every change will end in one or two of these places, resistance or buy-in. The difference is not how good the strategy is. The difference is how well leaders guide people through the emotional curve. So manage the emotions first and buy-in becomes possible. So let's jump to change leadership. Leaders need sets of tools for leading through change in their organizations. I will now present Dr. John Cotter's 8-step model, a framework for driving organizational change. Let me start with a simple truth. Some change initiatives don't fail because people are resistant. They fail because people were never led through that change. What you see on the image is not a checklist, it is a leadership journey. Dr. Cotter groups change into 3 big phases. One is creating a climate for that change. Secondly is engaging the organization. The third phase is sustaining the momentum. So let's walk through this journey. Phase 1, creating a climate for that change. That is between step 1 and step 3. Step 1, if you look at step 1, is create a sense of urgency. Look at their faces, focused and leaning in. Urgency means helping people see why we must change now, what we risk if we don't, what opportunity we gain if we do. Without urgency, nothing moves. Step 2 is building a guiding coalition. And notice there that it is a group, not one hero. Change is too heavy for one person. You need influential, credible, committed people who carry the change together. If it depends only on you, it will collapse. Step 3 is develop a strategic vision. Here on this step, we see people looking towards a horizon. People don't follow plans. They follow a picture of the future. Where are we going? Why is it better? How life will improve. And vision turns uncertainty into a direction. And phase 2, engaging the organization, which is now steps 4 to 6. So look at step 4 is enlist a volunteer army. We see the crowds raising their hands. People must choose to join. You don't force change, you inspire participation. And when people help build the change or build anything, they protect it. And when you look at step 5 is enable action by removing barriers. We see the people breaking down the wall. Barriers might be policies, fears, skills gap, bureaucracy, or even toxic behavior. Leaders don't just motivate, they remove obstacles. If people are willing but are stuck, leadership has got so much work to do. And step 6 is generate short-term wins. We see the celebrations. Early wins prove the change is working. So those early wins build confidence. They silence doubt. Small wins create big momentum. So last phrase, which is phase 3, sustaining the momentum, that is your step 7 and 8. Step 7 is sustain acceleration. Don't slow down after early success. Use momentum to tackle bigger and harder challenges. Progress must keep moving forward. And then step 8 is anchor the change in culture. We see the anchor there. This means that change becomes the way we do things. It shows up in the hiring. It shows up in the training. It shows up in promotions and daily behavior. If it's not a culture, it won't last. And finally, this model teaches us powerful lessons for driving organizational change. That successful organizational transformation is a long-term, people-centered journey driven by leadership, not just a management project that can be rushed. My fellow torchbearers, allow me to say, change is not an event. Change is not an announcement. Change is leadership in action. When leaders follow the journey, they don't just manage change, they lead transformation. And I'll close off with my mantra derived from Dean Libaron Briggs. Do your work, and not just your work and no more, but a little more for the lavishing sake. Do every work or project with so much honesty and diligence. Work with virtue for that which is worth all the rest. Put your heart into it. If you suffer as you must, and if you doubt as you must, just do it, and the sky will clear. And then out of your very doubt and suffering will be born the supreme joy of life. Over to you, Katia.
Mr. Sia Madolo, thank you very much, sir, for that insightful presentation indeed. And yeah, I like the fact that you took us through the 8 steps, and I'm sure each and every one of us can really relate in terms of where do we fit here, where those 8 John Cotter steps are concerned. Dr. John Cotter really appreciated leaders as torchbearers. We all need to position ourselves like that, lighting the path for the future. We were told earlier on that leaders are visionaries as well. So this would give us a sense of how then we move even beyond this particular session. Listening as a leader, it's very important, leading with empathy, but more or less just being able to embrace the changes that may come across may come upon in your organization as you go along. Change is leadership in action. That was powerful, and really appreciate you coming through, Mr. Sia. And just a reminder to everybody else that we're going to be opening the floor for about 10 minutes for a question and answer session. So we're going to open it up, and if you're one person that is there that you've had a burning question, I know that most of us would have had questions even in the previous sessions, the breakaway sessions, that would be outstanding. So I'm going to open it up for at least 10 minutes. And this is where then we're going to be moving into the breakaway session. So remember that you choose whichever person you want to go into. So if you had that outstanding question, just choose a room, go into that room, and let's try. If you want to move around, you can move around as well. But let's be back here in the next 10 minutes.
Hello, good afternoon. Is it an afternoon yet, or are we still going to an afternoon? Good afternoon. So you can just open your mics. Let's have a conversation. Let's engage. What questions do you have for me?
Good.
And I'll try
Good
address them to
afternoon.
the best of my ability. Good afternoon, Almari. How are you? Almare, I hope I'm saying it correctly.
Yes, yes. Thank you for the powerful session. So I am in the creative industry. I'm a creative producer in the film and television space, and I run multiple projects at the same time. So when it comes to communication, what advice would you give me? Should I have a standard way of communicating that would make it easier for me, or should I evaluate the culture of the group or the project that I'm busy with?
Okay. So you having multiple projects that you engage in, I would then recommend that you have a system of communication that works for you and also works for the team you communicate with. So because of you being spread, or maybe the demand for your attention or time at a specific time might be a bit overly stretched, find a system that allows you to communicate, get feedback, and give feedback back. That should allow you enough room. But in terms of dealing with individuals, if we speak into how you relate or your interpersonal skills, very important. There's no way for you to be able to relate with someone and communicate with someone without considering how they might be thinking, what their perspective is on a certain thing, because that honestly dictates how they respond to you or how they understand you. So you coming from an angle where you also understand them equips you to be able to communicate better and ensure efficiency. Does that help?
Thank you so much. Because I am trying to navigate a system for me, seeing that I'm in the artistic space. We artists normally are all over the place. So I'm busy creating a system. Yeah. For example, when it is induction, then I will have like a workshop whereby I will then communicate the projects and the outcomes. So I'm trying to navigate. Thank you so much.
But also in terms of projects, maybe try do trackers, because you're also pressed for time, have trackers, post your workshops so they can put down the activities, and if have checkpoints as well. So integrating such systems will then help you know what's going on, be able to mitigate issues as and when they arise, and also open an accessibility channel for them to come back to you should they need advice on direction and directives in terms of what's going on the project. I think that would be very helpful as well.
Thank you so much. What trackers would you advise, ma'am? Sorry that I'm taking all the space.
No, it's okay. I hope we just don't run out of the 10 minutes. I see there's a hand. Say again, what?
What communication trackers do you advise?
Also, develop a document that is customized based on the need of or whatever information you require at that time. Customize it. We can, or reach out to me. I'll share some of the documents, the templates that I use at CCI for the team, because I'm also stretched and pressed for work as well. So I'm happy to share those templates. If you just state it in the chat that I promise to share some communication templates. And maybe also you can also use it for your own benefits management approach. Okay.
100%. Thank you so much, ma'am.
All right. Any other question? I saw a hand, but I lost her. Hi, Nandi. Sorry about that.
Oh, sorry. I think the gentleman went first. Sorry, my hand wasn't up.
Oh, okay. Who had raised their hands?
No,
But you can
no, it's
proceed.
fine.
Okay.
It's fine. It's done. It's silly, but Nandi can go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
okay,
you,
I'll
sir.
be quick. My question is on eye contact.
Okay.
So where does one find the balance in the workspace, more so corporate? Because sometimes there's also culture to consider, because with more elderly people or the older group, within the workspace, sometimes there's a culture that comes in, and then the disrespect that comes with not looking people in the eye or looking people in the eye. How do you find the balance? And yeah, how do you find the balance in that? Is there anything? Yeah.
Okay. So I'd firstly consider the tone and culture that I'm trying to probably establish within my department or my organization. Ageism does not work in the professional space, which is what we Africans love so much. We want to feel respected because I am older than you. It doesn't work in the professional space. I also used to shun at people that would address elders by name. And I got to learn that it's the professional setting. Here we are all equal. There isn't any age, but there is there is you respecting someone, just respecting the office as a professional that needs to be maintained. But it should never be that you are not able to, because the truth and a lot is said from your facial expression or even from eye contact. Whether you're being honest, whether you're being truthful, whether you believe in what you are saying, I can see that from looking you straight in the eye. If you're shying away, it means you lack confidence. It also gives a certain, like I said during the presentation, your body communicates in itself, leaving alone whatever you're going to say. So if we're going to talk about you being authentic and you being a person of integrity, you need to communicate what your body's saying. You need to align. And if I'm assertively going to say to you, no, this is not going to work as a project manager. I've done my business continuity checks. I've looked at the contingency fund. It's not enough. So this project does not have any justification for us to continue. So I'll recommend that we drop this project. I'm going to say it looking you straight in the eye, whether you're 50 years older than me. That's the thing. Try separate the ageism. The cultural background is so you understand how to approach the matter, not that it compromises your communication approach. No.
Okay. Thanks so
People
much.
will respect you for being assertive and also for standing your ground. Remember, I spoke about credibility and being authentic as you. So stand your ground. If those are the ethical values that you want to carry into the professional workspace, as long as they're not offensive to anyone, you're not stepping on anyone's toes, you're not hurting anyone or compromising anybody by doing so, then it should be values that you stick to. And that creates your identity. And people that wish they could be you would relate to you. And you become a leader because people would want to follow what they failed to do because they were shy because of ageism. They didn't want to offend Maneo because she's 5 years older than me. So how are you going to correct me if you can't? So it closes off, ageism closes off even communication channels. Because how does my junior then correct me? But if you relate to me with the knowledge that you're here because you have a skill that I don't have, and I have a skill that you don't have, and we're here to work together, we're interlinked. So we're going to work together to build this ship. So that builds that respect, that mutual respect. And that's what the professional workspace is all about. When we address issues, we don't address the people, we address the issue at hand. So that needs an understanding. But if you're thinking ageism or cultural background, how we need to address each other as Africans, it's going to be a problem for you to break through those boundaries.
Got you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Danisile, I'll take you. I think we won't even be. Let's do it in the question and answer section within the main room because our 10 minutes is up in the breakout rooms. So let's see if the facilitator, the moderator, Katlego, gives us an opportunity. Please just raise your question there and I'll address it. Thank you all for the engagement. Very exciting session. Thank you for all the questions. I hope you'll be able to practice your communication principles going forward. See you in the main room.
So yeah, welcome back everybody. I'm hoping that you are back. You are still, upbeat about this morning going into the afternoon as well, and some of the, the breakaway sessions and the questions that came through there. I only managed to attend two, and this would have been the one with Manel Scott and the one with Sia as well. Manuel, a question coming through there around balancing, the issues of a culture, age, and the workplace, especially where eye contact is concerned. Remember that we work with different people from different backgrounds and different cultures. Some people don't take kind to you looking at them in the eyes when you're speaking to them. But a lovely response there from Maneo, just talking about ageism having no space in the professional place, because we are all there to work, whether you are an 81-year-old and I'm an 18-year-old, the outcome would still be the same in terms of moving the organization forward. So I'm hoping that you don't touch people or you don't step on people's toes when you're busy looking at them in the eyes and trying to assert yourself. Sia, change management and navigating emotions in the workplace. Also, a question coming through from Buntle. I was a bit scared that Buntle would be cut off, but you managed to answer her in the allocated time of 10 minutes. So thank you very much to everyone that is still here, that is still upbeat. And we're going to be inching closer to the closing of the session here. And this is where I'm gonna give away books. Manuel Scott has books that she's going to give away. I'm just gonna allow her just space to tell us a little bit about the books, and then after that, we'll open the floor, give away those books, and then we'll come back and close. Manuel.
Thank you, Katlego. This is really going to be a brief one about my book. So I authored a book and published last year. It's called Master Digital Persuasion. The book is available on Take a Lot. It's also available through CCI's channels. The book is about mastering digital persuasion. So it's communication all round. Because if there's one thing I know without any question is that communication is the pillar of everyone's existence. If you cannot communicate what you stand for, what you're trying to sell, who you are, how you position yourself, if you fail to do that, you have failed to place a mark in this world. So your existence will literally disappear over time. So I invite all of you to get a copy of the book. This will strengthen you in terms of brand positioning within the digital landscape. And also some of the strategies that I share within the book are applicable in all aspects of communication, not necessarily just the digital landscape. And having heard all the questions that have come forth today, that book is an asset that everyone needs to have in their cupboard or in their bookshelf. You need to actually have it in your handbag, in your bag, in your laptop bag, because all the practices or all the strategies are blueprint strategies. You apply the strategies, you get the same results that Nike got, the same results that Apple got. All of that will definitely be the results that you will pull out from reading the book. So we're giving out 5 copies. I'm going to hand over back to Katlego before I come back up to come thank everyone, just for him to do the run and hand over, or give away rather than hand over, or give away 5 copies of the book. They are soft copies, Katlego, that they will definitely receive in the course of the coming week. So over to you.
All right. Awesome. Thank you very much, Manel, for that. I'm looking at the platform and I'm like, where do I start? Who do I gift? Here in terms of everybody else that came through and just ready to engage as much as you can. But there are a couple of people that I noticed as being very active, especially coming from the group chat. And again, even in the sessions that I attended. So I'm just going to identify them and then, I will reach out to you. Manel will communicate. And the first one would be Sakumzi Shabangu. So Sakumzi Shabangu, congratulations. You're going to be receiving that book as well. I'm hoping that it really lights your path and you're able to move into the space of leadership, also decisive. Also, Nadia Reuters, I'm going to also gift you as well, Nandi, because in the 2 sessions that I attended, you were there, and you were asking questions, interactive as well. So I think you're also one person that will be getting that book as well. Elmarie Hendricks, Elmarie, you're also going to be getting that book, and I'm trying to balance it in terms of the guys and the ladies. But Elmarie, there's a book coming your way as well. So I'm hoping that it changes your life, it moves you where your company is concerned. The next person that we're going to be gifting as well would be Khadi Ramotwala. Khadi, congratulations, you're getting the book as well. So I'm hoping that it helps you. Monday would be your start day in terms of ensuring that we put all of these into practice. So I'm hoping that this book gives you a little bit of a springboard and you're able to navigate the world of leadership also better. One last person to gift here. One last person to gift would be Mr. Faleni. So Mr. Faleni will also gift you as well as a person. You asked a question here and even lauding the work that is being done here by the speakers, saying it's an eye opener to see the leaders also in person. So as your leader yourself, we're hoping that the book would come through and then it will push you into greater heights. But there's greater benefits, to everybody that has been here, whether we've gifted you a book or not, you stayed the course. And that's what a leader does. We find you here from when we started at 10 to where we are now at 5 minutes before 1 o'clock. And I really would like to appreciate each and every one. I know some people had a lot to do over the weekend, but also giving me your time, as a host. For those that don't know me, I'm Katlego Lerodi. I'm a broadcast news journalist. I'm with Power FM, Power 98.7. I have a show there. I'm also with the SABC doing economics. I'm a business reporter for the SABC, an entrepreneur as well. So everything else that happened in this session, I also was taking notes and I was positioning myself. So thank you very much for giving me your time. I'm going to invite back into the podium, the session, Manel Scott. She's the founder of the organization. So Manel will be coming through to just close and just give us a sense of what we can expect, especially where to from here in terms of what you have planned. I know you've got plans in place, and I'd like for people to really form part of this journey with you, Manel, and the organization as well. So it's over to you, Manel.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Katahoa. Thank you so much. First and foremost, where we're going to, Katahoa said so many things about what I'm coming here to do, and I'm just losing track of them in my mind. But going forward, where are we going from here? So CCI, as you've seen, we've had a video that we've lighted all throughout the program about who we are and what we do. We're going to be having more of this master classes, but obviously this would have been our, unfortunately, rather than obviously, unfortunately, this is our last free masterclass that we've been conducting. So everything else, there is value in what you pay for. So I hope that the next time, you can also visit our website under our events page. We have quite a number of them coming up. I'm sure you don't want to miss them. But for any inquiries or questions, you can also send an email or visit our Facebook or our LinkedIn or our WhatsApp channel to pose questions there. We'll be more than happy to assist you or even direct you to the relevant people that will be able to assist you with inquiries around our masterclasses. But over and above that, Katahoa, I think today it's just me extending my appreciation and my sincere gratitude to everyone who made this experience impactful and meaningful. Firstly, I would like to thank our participants. Your engagement, thoughtful questions, and willingness to challenge your own leadership and communication styles are what truly bring learning to life. And at CCI, we believe that leadership is not about titles, but about influence, clarity, and competence. And you demonstrated all three throughout this masterclass. My heartfelt thanks also goes to our facilitator and the CCI team and the amazing panel of speakers that joined us today. Your dedication, professionalism, and commitment to excellence are what ensures that every program we deliver is practical, relevant, and transformative. You continue to prove that competence is built through intentional effort and consistent practice. And to our partners and stakeholders, thank you for trusting Core Competency Institute as your development partner. Your support enables us to continue shaping leaders who can communicate with purpose and lead with integrity and drive meaningful change in their organization and communities. As CEO of CCI, I am proud of the work that we are doing together in equipping leaders, like we always say, our tagline, from credentials to competence and to the rest of the world. Let's show them that Africa's got it. Thank you, Katlego.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Manel. And we wish you everything of the best. I wanted you to touch on because I know that this would have been a precursor to that intensive 16 module leadership program. But as we follow the work that you do as CCI and some of those platforms that we find you on, I'm sure we'll get all of these details around how we hop onto that 16 module program. I have a minute left, so I'd like to open it up to our speakers. Please, 20 seconds each. Can we just get your parting short and just remind our participants as to where they can follow your work as well, especially if you are on social media, how can they interact with you as you continue with your leadership? We'll start with you, Mr. Robinson Shumba. Over to you, sir. Your parting
Thank you so
short.
much for the 20 seconds. For me, I charge us to go out there and implement what we've learned. If you get knowledge and you don't implement it, either you lose it or you pacify its importance in your life. It will not be of any meaning. So let's apply even 2% of what you have learned today. Only then can we have true transformation. And you can follow me on all social media platforms, including TikTok. The name is as written on my screen there, Robinson Shumba. Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, any other platform. Let's follow each other. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Mr. Robinson Shumba coming through as a leadership change and risk management expert, sir. Everything of the best. Mr. Siabonga Madolo, let's get your parting short as well. And let's get a sense of where we can follow your organization or the work that you do as well. Over to you, sir. Sia?
Okay, one word is be excellent. Do your work always. I'm based in East London, here in South Africa, and I work both online and in person. I assist entrepreneurs better understand themselves and their businesses so they make a lasting impact in the marketplace. You can reach me on LinkedIn, also on Facebook, Siabonga Madolo.
Awesome. Siabonga, everything of the best, man, with your organization and the work that you do. Really, really appreciated. Let's get a parting short as well from Miss Natalie Lowe. Natalie, over to you.
Thank you, Katlego. I was actually busy posting it in the message, in the chat box. So my parting message is, as you think, so you shall become. Just be mindful of your thoughts. Remember what you tell yourself you're going to believe. And if you tell yourself it's a bad situation, it will be. But if you say, I can make this work, you will. So just remember that. That's just my closing. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Where do we follow you, Natalie?
I've posted my LinkedIn page in the chat section. Thank you, Katlego.
Awesome. Really appreciate it. And everything of the best, Natalie. Thank you very much for your time. Mr. Neo, let's get your parting shot as well, Mr. Neo Tabane. Neo? I think Neo has been kicked out somewhat. But Maneo, let's have you give us your parting shot. I know you've already said your thanks and everything else, but if you have further details to share on that 16 module curriculum and what you're introducing, maybe just share, and then where we can follow you as well, and then you'll close for us. I was about to say in prayer, but but please.
I think there's something to that prayer part. Maybe you should go learn discipleship or pastoralship because you keep on saying that all the time. But anyways, from my end, Katlego, I'd say pause, create 3 responses, and then choose the one that expresses what you're trying to say better. That is very important as a leader. Sometimes we respond out of reacting or out of impulse because of how we feel at that time. This strategy will help you pause, reflect, and respond adequately for that situation. And about the 14 model program, Katlego, they can visit our website under our events or under our intervention programs. It is listed there, Leadership and Communication Masterclass. I'm just trying not to take up too much of everyone's time. I've already exhausted their time through this program on a Saturday afternoon. So please do reach out, or you can reach out to us on info@cci or CC Institute, .co.za. Reach out to myself personally. I'm on social media. I'm on TikTok. I know I'm on Facebook and I'm on LinkedIn as well as Maneo Scott. But my TikTok handle is, I think, King of Queens. I call myself King of Queens. I'm sure Natalie will knock to that one. What you say to yourself is who you are. So I am the king of all the other queens. On TikTok, please do reach out. We're more than happy to engage and deliberate on collaborations or future business as well. Thanks, Katlego.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Manel, and everything of the best with the organization. It has been a pleasure. I'm at Katlego Lerodi on all of the social media platforms, so do reach out. Yeah, let's collaborate where we can, let's work where we can, and let's just make the entrepreneurship space a better place. So everything of the best in, yeah. Okay,
just
sorry,
a quick
Manel?
one. Sorry, I just remembered there's one thing I didn't say. So please also subscribe to the Competency Review publication. It's one of my publications. I put up monthly leadership articles as well. And that's also on our website under the Competency Review that really assists you in your leadership style channels, what to engage, what not to engage as well, how to become an efficient and competent leader. That's a tour guide that every leader should have. So yet again, it's the Competence Review on CCI website. You can visit it and get more details. Thank you, Katlego.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Manel. Everything of the best, guys, with your organizations with the year 2026. This particular session was structured so early in the year, and it does give you somewhat of a head start as we go into 2026. So everything of the best, and let's touch base on the other side. Bye-bye.